Good evening, everyone. This is a caucus of the Jersey City Municipal Council. Today is Tuesday, October 13th in the year 2015. We had a 5:30 p.m. scheduled start. My trusty phone tells me it's 5:35 p.m. and I'm doing what I hope all of you will do. I've just silenced it. At 5:35, we have Councilperson Gajewski, Baggiano, Osborne, Coleman, Rivera, Waterman, and Lavara. Absent are Council members Ramchal and Yun. Take it away, Council President.
We're going to lead off tonight with a presentation unrelated to anything on the agenda regarding the Shade Tree Commission. Who's here on behalf of that? Hi. Hi, Jerry. Come on up. Was there just a verbal presentation?
It's a PowerPoint.
A PowerPoint over there, okay.
We're going to need you to project. There's no PA system in here. These little pads you see on the table are the microphones.
Okay.
So just project, Mr. Nichols.
All right.
And take it away. Go ahead.
Well, thank you very much for your time tonight, council members. I will be quick and to the point. I know you have a loaded agenda tonight. So the Environmental Commission launched a shade tree canopy study about a year ago.
Could you just tell you're the chairperson?
Oh, right. I'm sorry. My name is Jerry Nichols. I'm the chair of the Jersey City Environmental Commission. I've been on the Environmental Commission for 5 years and been the chair for about 18 months. So we embarked on a tree canopy study about a year ago. And the purpose of this study was to measure trees as a way to assess our green infrastructure and our resiliency and our role in managing stormwater and managing climate change and dealing with the changes that we're going to face over the next 25 years. So we engaged an outside consultant to analyze data and inform certain questions. What is tree canopy? Why do we want it? How is it going to benefit our city? And what do we need to do to make it better? And so, as most of you know, the tree canopy in Jersey is obviously highly dense, very urbanized city. We have very low, relatively speaking, tree canopy compared to other municipalities within our state. And so we want to know what effect that's having on our city. Everyone is well aware of the issues we have with flooding, with our combined sewer outfalls, our management of stormwater. If you're not aware, we are one of 50 municipalities that discharge sewage into water bodies whenever we have an overflow situation. And the tree canopy study was a major effort to understand how we can offset those negative impacts. So we want to move to green infrastructure, and one of the things the Environmental Commission is trying to do is provide the city, coordinate with nonprofits, coordinate with city government to foster better techniques for the management of stormwater, for the management of our infrastructure. We simply can't pipe it away forever. There's too much cost and too much maintenance involved with gray infrastructure, and the tree canopy study provided the data and information that we needed to help plan for long-term changes in our strategy for managing stormwater, managing heat island effect, and things like that. So this is just a snippet of what it looked like. On the left, we have gray infrastructure. On the right, we have what our green is. As you can see, the distribution of the two, the darker the green, the more dense. And I'm going to roll through these very quickly. You guys can read the slides as I go. I don't want to commandeer too much of your time. But there's a lot of benefits to trees. Implementing long-term solutions to manage the changes that we're going to encounter from rising sea level, from increased storm activity, combined sewer outfalls, things like that. So this is, methods for infrastructure and implementing green infrastructure. Trees have aesthetic benefits. They improve our air quality, stormwater. They improve public health. There's been studies that have linked them to improving property values, real estate, and tax bases. Job development, the Obama administration had a big push for green infrastructure and having green jobs. And it's also important to our residents. One of the things we learned during the tree canopy study was how tied in many of our residents were to access to parks, access to greenways, access to areas that are well stocked with trees.
And Gerald, just all those things you're talking about, job development, impacts and so forth, that's all detailed in the study itself, the findings?
Yeah, so the final report, which is available on our website, the city's website, details, they use metrics to determine what we could save and what we're saving by having trees. So using very simplistic models for if a tree sequesters X gallons of stormwater, it costs this much money versus how much it would cost to pipe that. Because most of you probably know, our stormwater goes down the drain, it goes to a giant pumping stations, and then it goes to the Passaic Valley Sewage Authority. So it's a very expensive process. Those pumps run 24/7, and we don't have the great infrastructure to manage all that water all the time, especially during heavy rain events. The other thing is heat island effects. So obviously when you have a lot of concrete and impervious structures, you generate a lot of heat, and we're paying for that in utility bills. So, trees are one way to offset those costs in aggregate for the city. And so those are the things that we looked at is, if you increased, if we have 30,000 trees and we increase it to 35,000, what would be the benefit to the city as a whole? And those are all detailed in the full report, which I encourage anyone to read. So we developed a model that looked at Jersey City specifically, analyzed aerial photography. It was all done GIS based. That GIS data is also completely available to the public and to any city agency. It's been uploaded to the planning database. This is what we got out of it. We mapped the entire city. We truthed the data with the consultant. We worked through them over an 8 to 10 month process, and we also engaged the public on 3 public forums to analyze where we have no trees, lots of trees, and in between. So we did it by ward, and so you can see that we have some variability in terms of distribution between ward and trees. Liberty State Park heavily influences the data, and we obviously saw that with the data. And so on the right, we analyzed the data without the contribution from Liberty State Park, and on the left, we have the data with Liberty State Park. You can notice, particularly for the downtown area, that effect is dramatic. And
Journal Square's got all the trees. Why did Journal Square got all the trees? About Journal Square.
So,
Could you go back?
yes, of
one more?
course.
With the wards, right?
Gonna take a second.
I was trying to see, this is Liberty State Park, so that's F, and that's without Liberty State Park, we still have trees. Okay, I was just,
So,
right.
What's a
as
good
far as the
target
numbers
number?
go, I can't see them, so, what is that, 12% in Ward E? 17, what is that number, 13?
14.7.
And then Ward A is the bottom? Okay.
I'm sorry, when I said downside, I misspoke. It's not.
I'm sorry, Ward 13, yeah. 13.7. Yeah, 13.7 is Ward E, and on the bottom is Ward A. Okay, so that's 14.
So what's a good number? Like, what number should we hit?
Right.
19%.
Yeah.
Right there, right, that's Liberty State Park.
No, that's us.
That's Jones Square, right?
Is that Journal Square? He says without Liberty State Park, so Liberty State Park is more here than it is there.
Right.
So this is without Liberty State Park, and that's Liberty State Park right there. Right?
I mean, I need a goal to hit.
Right, so 19% would be an improvement. So right now, we have an average canopy coverage, including Liberty State Park, of 17, and if you subtract Liberty State Park, it's 16%. So Liberty State Park, in city terms of aggregate, is 1% of our tree canopy coverage. So to go from 16% to 19% would actually be quite an accomplishment. I'll get to this a little further, but
Thank you.
Thank you. We set a goal of 20%. I mean, that's not some
Okay.
binding goal, but we use that goal to inform what we would get out of that. Because, we don't want to just say, okay, let's increase the canopy coverage to this. We use that 3% to say, this is what we'll get in terms of stormwater sequestration. This is what we'll get into reduced heat island effect, which will have a tangible impact on people's property tax, people's utility bills. That's where that 20% comes into play.
Candace, you need trees.
I know,
Look at that,
You do.
you're the less, that's E over there.
I know.
You're
I'm
the
big time
West.
need trees. I don't have, yeah.
Yeah.
Trees.
And I've got it 7% to get 20%. All right, done. Challenge.
So this is we took the data further. We have a GIS layer that analyzes where the coverage is high and low on a street by street basis. So some of the community says, I want to improve my neighborhood. I want to see what the worst street is, and I want to make it better. We have that data readily available for them to look at.
This is
That's
great.
confusing though, I tell you that. All those lines going everywhere.
Well, we can
That's
zoom it in.
confusing.
It is hard to read here, but this
Oh.
is meant to,
You can drill down?
The resolution of the images are very high, so if you download the report, you can zoom in, you can see your street, and drill down. This is our parks. We love our parks in Jersey City. We have a lot, and the community obviously wants more of it. This is a distribution of tree coverage. JCCC loves this slide. I have this mainly for them, but this shows, relatively speaking, how much, from one park to the next, does this park have a lot of trees versus the other one? You can see which ones are near your house, which
Berry Lane
are
has
contributing.
no trees? Well, that's 'cause it's not.
And also this was done before the
Yeah,
latest
it's not done.
tree planting in Berry Lane, so Berry Lane would probably be a little more green at this point.
Can we get this, you said, can we get this?
You can send us.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, yeah. And so these are the possible planting areas. We then took the data a step further and said, okay, where are areas tree deficient? Where are we seeing intense concentration of pervious cover, which would be roofs, concrete, pavers, stuff like that? Again, this can then use to be informed master plans. It can be used to inform community initiatives, and there's a wealth of information that can be taken. So I already touched on this. We're at 17%, 16% if you take out Liberty State Park. Someone, I think, asked a question, how does that compare? Sustainable Jersey calculated the municipalities in the state of New Jersey. Obviously, we're not a suburb, but typically that you're talking about 37 to 38% tree canopy coverage. But that's factoring in, places that are just not dense. You compare us to a place like New Haven. We have, they exceed 20%. Suburban cities like Raleigh, North Carolina, they're upwards 20, 30%. We're never going to get to 30%, and we don't need to. But one of the recommendations that we're saying here is we should invest to reap the benefits of increased tree canopy coverage.
Can I ask another question?
Sure.
So if I have 13% and I'm gonna get to 20%, can you tell me how many trees I need to plant?
I
The exact
can,
number?
and I have a slide on that.
Okay.
How are you gonna plan them? Candace, is there money for this? Did we get to that part yet? In other words, is there funds available to apply for the least amount of tree area or something like that? Huh?
Well,
Why are you asking practical questions?
I mean, in other words, like Candace's area is the most, so I'm asking, because of that and because of this report, is there somewhere that we can apply for funds for trees through this program that you're giving us?
right. So
Right?
there are funds,
Okay,
but so
Okay.
there's in terms of recommendations, in terms of practicality, we engaged the public and we came up with a number of things that we think the city can embark on. There are lots of the New Jersey Tree Fund, New Jersey Futures. I mean, you can go down the list. There's probably a dozen grant agencies that if we wanted to go after grants, we can. But on a larger level, those grants will inform grassroots initiatives and developments, and they will help, take on a neighborhood or maybe a ward. But as a city, we can do things like populate a shade tree commission, establish a tree fund through sidewalk permit system, We can do set-asides. There are a lot of different things that are being done in other municipalities that are meant to provide a revolving and sustained funding source for maintenance of the trees. Right now, the Parks Department and DPW does not have the funding or the personnel to maintain the trees. I'm not faulting them. It's simply it's just a reality. And so there are community groups that are taking it upon themselves. I live in the village, and there's people that go out and plant trees. There's been recent larger pushes. That's awesome. That's great. I mean, that's shows dedication to the city and that it's benefit. But things like sidewalk permits and enforcement of zoning laws and stuff like that are what is going to provide a sustained source and was, another thing is, improving our codes, improving our ordinances, requiring more tree pits per area, holding developers and property owners accountable to actually build them and not just ignore them after construction gets done. I mean, there's lots of things we can do. And the Environment Commission is here to help through that process, and that's why I'm sitting here today. I didn't come here just to tell you about this report. I'm an engineer, and
you're gonna work with Parks to show them how this can be done.
Parks worked with us throughout the whole step of the way.
Okay.
They were very engaged, but it does come back to them in many ways about resources and staffing. So I have nothing negative to say about Parks, but we want to see how we can help them and work together.
Grants.
Just to, mindful of the time, do you have a lot more of the presentation?
I don't. I'm wrapping up. If I need to get all these questions, I can.
I don't know.
No sense in showing us a presentation if we don't know how to make it happen.
That I do appreciate. No,
Right?
I was
If we can't make it
You're
happen.
gonna get a lot more questions with these pictures.
So I do have to point these things out. So we do have tree pits, and there's a big problem right now. Pavers and tree pits are no good. Intense concrete around tree pits is not really helping anything. So the Newark Ave frontage recently got redone. At least half of those trees are dead. A lot of that is because we had a very intense dry summer, and the way we build these tree pits and the way they're being constructed is not really up to, it's not really the best way to build a tree pit. They are surrounded by concrete, and under the prime conditions where you have consistent rainfall, they will survive. Under conditions we had this summer, we had 6 to 8 weeks of relatively intense drought. Many of those trees will simply die. So community groups are getting involved. They're trying to water them. They're trying to replant them. But at the end of the day, that was a waste of money to put those trees in and watch them die. But I
And
encourage
watch
you
them destroy the sidewalk.
to walk up Newark Ave and just take a mental tally. The leaves haven't fallen yet, but you can see which ones are dead and which ones are alive.
And they can't be fixed, they're dead.
You have to take
Well,
them
I
out.
mean, a tree will go dormant. Trees are surprisingly resilient. That's why they're so cheap to do what they do in terms of stormwater, in terms of carbon sequestration. But they can't withstand years of
Neglect.
neglect. Thank you.
Neither can people.
It's
or
true.
Animals.
So I already touched on this stuff. I'm not going to repeat it. One of the big recommendations is having someone, either an arborist or someone trained in tree management within, parks or city government that can help inform decisions.
Talking about that.
Community tree planting, I don't think, the role of, government's not going to come in and plant everyone's tree for them. We have a great community. People want to get involved, and we need to foster that. And so one of the things we're hearing from the community is people do want to help. They do want to be a part of this. It's not just about throwing money at the problem. So goals: expand Jersey City's tree canopy, have a program that keeps them alive so that they actually function as planned, and have some type of long-term funding mechanism.
I like those things.
Through probably a permit-based system where a portion of the permit fee goes to it.
I like those things.
This is and apply for grants, things like that. This is the final report. I can email that link to everyone so you have it handy, and that's all I had.
Thank you, very enlightening.
Thank you.
Very
Yes.
Gerald?
No, I work for a private company.
Joe, can you provide Margaret, she'll get to everybody a copy of this?
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
also, I think there was the entire study itself is available.
Yes, yeah. So
Okay.
So my presentation is on the laptop, so you can just pull off the laptop and I'll send you the link to it.
When's the party, Rolando? When's the party? Yeah, when's the party?
Where's the kid?
No, when's the party?
The party is not for public announcements.
I'll submit an Oprah request.
Robert,
Yeah.
just don't forget.
Yes. Council President, before we do other business, could we talk about a couple things that we're going to do tomorrow night about the tabled agenda?
We have DOT waiting.
Okay. All right, just make a note so we don't, I'm just doing that so we don't forget.
Okay.
We did last time.
Representatives from Department of Transportation? Department of Transportation?
Same way people get around near Route 139. Very slowly.
That was good, Robert.
I can't get to my old neighborhood from here anymore.
Folks, there's nothing on the agenda, right?
No.
Okay.
All right, everyone's attention, please. Your name, sir?
Yes, I'm Jeff Lanigan. I'm the Community Outreach Team Leader for the what we call Pulaski Contract Number 2.
Lanigan?
Lanigan.
Lanigan.
But what locals know as Route 139, upper and lower roadway, the cut and cover, whatever. The approach to the Holland Tunnel is the best description of it. Also with me tonight is Lisa Ginther. She's my co-team leader. Lisa's going to be handing out our cards as well as handouts of what we'll be discussing this evening. I'd like to thank the Jersey City Council, the Mayor's Office, Doug Carlucci, and Director Kearse for arranging this meeting tonight and inviting us here to present to you. What we're here to tonight is to discuss the next major phase of our project, which will be the closure of the north and south approaches to Palisade Avenue. Well, that woke everyone up, okay? So what we're here to discuss is the next phase of the project, which will be the closure of the north and south approaches to Palisade Avenue. You will still be able to go east and west through the corridor across Palisade, but you will no longer be able to go north and south. And that's what we're...
You're already starting. Where's Councilman Bogiano? That's okay. It's okay. He's got it.
All right, sorry, I just had to turn the move around.
Can we vote on this today?
There's no vote.
Just a presentation. Skyway, I can't understand this
I don't
thing.
either.
This is the Holland Tunnel, I got that.
We met with Councilman I saw when he left the room, so... I don't know. I hope not.
Okay, sorry, I had to turn the move around.
No problem.
Sir, you can resume, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Go ahead.
We're going to continue.
Yeah.
With me tonight, I have the Director of Community Outreach and Constituent Affairs, Scott Stevens. Also with me are our resident engineer, the man physically in charge on the field, who is Felix Uola. And over here is Eric New. Eric is the Regional Field Manager for DOT. He has all of the Pulaski projects under him, not just the one we're here to discuss this evening. And from our consultant team, I have Ed Sittler. He is the lead roadway designer. And next to him is Yimin Tang, who is our lead traffic engineer. So that's the team we have here tonight. We're going to start by going through what you have in front of you and what we have on display boards. Eric And Yimin will take the lead on that, kind of give you a description of what the work is that we need to accomplish, why we're closing it, and what we're doing to do mitigation of the closure. All right, Eric?
Okay, thank you very much.
Identify yourself, you're Eric?
Yeah, Eric, N-E-U.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear it.
N-E-U.
L-E-U?
N-E-U.
N-E-U, new, like
Yep.
new, okay, like John new.
Yep, I'm new. Okay. All right, well, as Jeff mentioned, the next phase is Palisades Avenue. As you notice, the project's been ongoing. We right now currently have Oakland Avenue out. And eventually, as we work our way down the project, we're gonna replace all the cross streets of the bridge, as we also place the new eastbound roadway. If you've been by recently, we're starting to put the girders in at Oakland, and also put the girders in between the cross streets to hold up the new deck's been going in right now. The next phase is Palisades. Truthfully, Palisades was started a while ago, but the problem was the gas main on the bridge was a lot older and more brittle than anticipated. So we had to work on a plan with pump service to relocate the gas main off the bridge, which we're gonna do. It's gonna start this week. Then once the gas main goes off the bridge, reconnect to the gas main, at that time, we can remove the bridge. When we close Palisades Avenue with the bridge removal, really only it closes is the bridge over the lower roadway. So when we have the bridge closed, we'll be able to approach from the north all the way down to Route 139. We can only take a right turn then.
Right.
At the same time is at 139, you still can go east. However, there's nowhere to put the traffic in. So really, to get the traffic going northbound, we're going to at Newark Avenue send everybody west to Baldwin Avenue and up around Baldwin. There will be local access to Hudson Gardens, also be local access to the high school, but we don't want the through traffic because we don't want to wish going through Washburn and getting caught in that neighborhood. So the through traffic will go across Newark Avenue and up Baldwin. Part of that process.
You can't move on
Right.
Baldwin right now. I live right off Baldwin.
You're gonna have a huge problem, because you're gonna destroy Washburn. It's
Yes.
gonna be destroyed.
You can't.
Well, that's why we're not gonna use, Washburn won't be,
So then you're just gonna keep the traffic for 2.5 hours on Palisades Avenue with the school coming out and all of that. That's impossible, because we have to now factor in an ambulance, a police car. This is not good.
I understand, but I mean, that's why, truthfully, local access will still be by, in front of the high schools, but you won't have the buses, you won't have the jitneys, they're gonna be all pushed over to Baldwin. So it's only the local traffic in that area coming up from Newark Avenue up towards 139. And 139, unfortunately, only take a right turn during this bridge closure.
So are you opening up Oakland Avenue then?
Oakland Avenue probably will not open up till later this winter. The original intent of this project always was to do 2 streets at once.
It's not good. It's not good. Yeah, I think the planning is bad.
Why can't you come back after Oakland? It's a timing of the thing. One, Oakland doesn't take the same traffic flow, because Oakland south of 139 is more of a local street. It doesn't handle the same northbound traffic. And also the same, right now, on Palisades, on these crossings, right now it's only north-south movements. You can't take the rights and left turns into the side streets. So the Oakland will not take that cross traffic from Baldwin. Buses can't access it. It's a different traffic flow.
So you're still closing, Oakland and Baldwin will still be closed?
Right, which was the original thing, but now Oakland
Oakland,
only.
Baldwin, Palisades.
Right, then
Makes zero.
Baldwin will be open, correct? Right.
When will Baldwin be open?
It's
Oh,
already.
no, stay open. Baldwin's open now. Baldwin
It's
will not
already
be
closed.
closed.
Folks, one at a time.
Baldwin will not be closed until Palisades and Oakland are completed. Then when Oakland and Palisades are completed and reopened, then we'll shut down Baldwin.
Is there going to be a police officer there to direct traffic? Because I can
Correct.
see people being frustrated.
Yes, it will be. I mean, right now we have officers at Palisades 139. One of the officers will be moved down to Newark Avenue and Palisades, but there will be officers being utilized that, and also help definitely for the high school students, make sure they go down Washburn
Crazy.
and
It's
keeping that
already
moving.
crazy trying to just get down.
Let me ask you, Walter,
One at a time.
Yeah.
Are you gonna cover the highway up when it's finished? because we had a meeting in Dickinson about 5 years ago, with this whole plan, and the promise was, there was a lot of people from the neighborhood turned out, that highway, 139, had better be covered up. Because we don't want it, and the expression the people used was like, what is that, 78 going out to the north, the open highway? Are they covering this highway up?
It's mostly covered up again, except it'd be essentially very similar to what was there before, as far as coverage before, with the eastbound over the lower roadway.
And when is this starting?
The closure of Palisades Avenue will be late October, early November, depending on the PS&G gas work.
Wow. So Baldwin and Summit Avenue are gonna get impacted extremely hard.
And it's already hard.
It's been
It's
hard-
already
it's been
hard.
hard for a year and a half.
Yeah, it's already backed up the traffic going down Summit Avenue, and they didn't even close, everybody's gonna come out today.
I've been on this job this time, yeah.
Rich?
And one other thing we're gonna do before this, we met, because this is a major bus route for, you know, you have the 84, the 86 bus, and the numerous jitneys. We met with transit, we worked out them, one thing we'll do prior to implementing the detour, we're at the individual corners along the detour route, and we'll be putting bollards and pushing the stop bars back to allow bus movements and movements at the intersections of cars on double park in the corners. So we're gonna move a spot or two at some of the corners, put possible bollards to allow vehicle turn movements. So people don't double park in the corners, block that out. We're also making improvements at the left turn signals at Newark Avenue in Baldwin also. The left turn slots allow vehicles like that left turn. The bus route, as you'll see here, is a little bit different. It's not right here. Oh yeah, buses will go down Beacon and they'll go straight down to Pavonia instead of going Newark Avenue. So buses are gonna run all the way down to Pavonia Avenue there. That's gonna be their route.
What's the timeline for all this? How long?
The closure of Palisades Avenue will be expected to go to mid to late spring.
Oh, my goodness.
We'll be closing in November, then be closed until mid-spring. It's a full replacement of that bridge structure, which then means replacing all the utilities and the bridge and water mains and that, and then redecking it.
You know, somebody said to me the other day, they built the Empire State Building in less than a year. You can't build a bridge, it takes several months to build a bridge.
Exactly. I mean, this is the traffic, you have to work above traffic, around traffic, we only have certain hours we can close traffic.
4 o'clock in the morning, waking everybody up in the neighborhood. There's a lot of, let's put it this way, hatred towards the DOT for what's going on.
Excuse me, everyone, we need to keep this to one meeting, please.
Danny?
My concern is, I think we're tampering with, one key thing that we're kind of like maybe we're overlooking is you're tampering with response time for the hospital right there.
Right, and we have met with Price Hospital, so they're aware of it, they're gonna reroute how their reduction, and we've also met with the ambulance services and emergency service, they understand the routing, how they're gonna call dispatching.
So they understand that we're tampering with patients now.
Well, they understand we're affecting their egress and egress, their routes in and out of the hospital, they understand that, yes.
Wow. And you guys are
But he's saying
comfortable
there's
with that?
nothing we can do.
I mean, are they comfortable with that?
We've had 3 meetings leading up to this over the last year with Dickinson High School, Hudson Gardens residents, and Christ Hospital. Leading up into this, now after this, we wanted to meet here with council. We had the invitation to come tonight. We're now going to begin another round of meetings with those 3 major stakeholders that are on that corridor. Again, Hudson Gardens, housing, Dickinson High School, and Christ Hospital, to make sure. I mean, we've touched. No, we have not. We've only met with administration up to this point, and now we need to do.
Oh, no, wait a minute, I don't care. You had 3 meetings, and I'm a council person from there, which everything you're talking about affects me. I'm taking a beating for the last 6 months, and you never contacted me and told me you had these meetings? That's unbelievable. I should show you my Facebook page on the iPad about you people. That is unbelievable.
Councilperson Osborne?
Have 2 questions. One was a follow-up question to you. You said it ends in spring. The whole thing is going to be done spring, or just this one piece?
No, that Palisades Avenue will be reopened.
When's the whole thing going to be done?
Well, again, we get this bridge closed, then we have to still do the other cross street, we're still gonna do
Give
Summit,
me a
Center.
quarter and a year. Q1, Q2, Q3, 2015, 16, 17, 18.
2115.
What was the original projection?
What, in what quarter of what year is this thing done?
Complete.
Is there, are we working towards a plan?
So the completion was late 2017, but that includes work down below also, right?
So Q4 2017 was the original, and we're behind, and we don't know what the due date is.
Yeah, we're working ways to mitigate, we're doing like, we're doing more work in the middle, and we're trying to get our work around. And the last work, a lot of work will be down below, we won't see it on the common viaduct.
And then my second question was, have our public safety department signed off on this meeting? Has our chief of police signed off? Has our fire chief? Most importantly, Director Pierce.
Comments on this. And I thank Jeff and the team for coming in. We met with them over the past couple of weeks, and I have very serious reservations about this plan. Number one, it impacts our capabilities to do an effective evacuation should the need arise. Number two, I think in this, we had conversations regarding Oakland area, and Eric, I respectfully disagree. I think if before this plan is even considered, Oakland Avenue should be finished to give us another north-south ingress and egress. Right now, we're dealing with Palisade Avenue, which is extremely heavily trafficked from bus traffic, jitney traffic, truck traffic, and as the councilman had mentioned, a hospital. Not including a high school that has roughly 3,500 students and another 500 teachers, plus also a very viable housing development. I have not seen a plan yet, as if when we close Palisade Avenue, how we intend to get these teachers and students in an orderly, safe fashion out of that school and into that school, other than taking the traffic that they're going to be using, the extension coming in off of Columbus Drive, and coming up through Newark Avenue, feeding more traffic onto Newark Avenue. I really think, you know, we dealt with the Pulaski Skyway, which everybody thought was going to be a nightmare, but through the cooperation of the DOT and our office and all the public safety associates in Jersey City, we were able to get that project moving pretty quickly. The 139 project has single-handedly impacted every area of Jersey City. And the other problems that we're dealing with is associated projects that are going on in the areas of these big projects, which Bob Kakaleski, the business administrator, has put together a committee, and we're going to look at that. If you're doing these full-time projects, you can no longer do, as I call them, the mom and pop projects. They have to wait. The other thing is that we have police officers assigned to the detail, but the auxiliary roadways that we would use as detours, we don't have the capabilities or the police officers to put on there. So you're talking about literally doubling the amount of officers now assigned to a project. Another issue we have is Manhattan and Tunley Avenue. Councilman Young had asked me to meet with the DOT. We set up a meeting, we come up, and the issue you have up there is that there's a westbound traffic signal that should be dedicated strictly for left-hand turns. We met 3 weeks ago, and we have not had an answer back as far as what's going to be done, other than being told that they're going to study it. You're dealing with a significant amount of traffic now using 15X as a result of the expansion of the global terminal. Yes, today we were notified that there's going to be another project involving 14A coming out of 185 that's now going to utilize 14B in Jersey City. Simply stated, we're running out of roads. The volume cannot, we're over capacity. So as far as this project goes, and I said it last week during our meeting, from my office, the Office of Emergency Management and Homeland Security, cannot endorse this until we have some assurances that Oakland Avenue will be open and additional police officers will be on the proposed routes that we're going to use as alternatives.
What about pedestrian? If Palisade closed, how is
The pedestrian route, the high school, they would go down Washburn to Baldwin, then up Baldwin up.
Councilman Rivera?
So I have a question. So
Right.
this project, let's say this is a DOT project, so I guess it's going to happen. Is there any way that us as a city council, Jeremy, we can say, no, you can't do this in the city until, you know?
Open up another block.
They got superior jurisdiction than the state government, but we've always had a good working relationship with them, And what I recommend is we had a task force that was a joint group of city officials and DOT officials when we initially went into preparing for this project. And perhaps that group should sit down one more time just to go over this adjustment and just to come up with some sequencing alternatives, as well as to make sure that any concerns that you guys have, you collectively send them to our OEM director, and they get voiced to that body so we can address them, get responses written back to you guys. Councilperson Osborne?
Yeah, so, thank you, Jeremy. I mean, if Director Kears isn't,
Right.
is concerned, then I'm concerned. I mean, that's kind of, he's
That's
a
right.
professional, he knows what he's talking about. And he knows Jersey City ins and outs,
That's right.
and has everyone's safety in mind. And I would think that his, in the position that he's in, his opinion should matter, number one. And number two, I think that, to the point that he made, the Pulaski Skyway was not nearly as dramatic. I mean, it was, we were really, really concerned, and I think a lot of that was because there was really good planning. And so I think we could use the opportunity now to say, let's take a step back and make sure we've done some rock solid planning that's holistic and involves not only just the state folks, but also the people like down on the ground here in Jersey City who understand kind of nuances that just can't be understood if you don't live here.
That task force had a good number of Jersey City officials from all different perspectives: engineering, public safety, OEM, even legal was on it. So I just think we just need to reconvene that body and just do a vetting of this. What happened with the initial closures, they came in with their same models and plans, and we tweaked them, and they were very gracious once we sat down and went through road by road. And the result was a very strong plan. I have no doubt that we as a group can sit down and do that again here.
Now, Jeremy, you just mentioned all these, what was done, but has anybody contacted the community, whether it's Riverview, the Hilltop, or any of us over there? No.
Councilman, I agree with you.
And I'm taking a beating because of this.
No, Councilman, I agree with you.
and
Last
I-
time we did do a series of public meetings, I don't know where we are with our communication plan, but a plan was drafted. We probably need to sit down with some community groups. We definitely need to sit down with the parents of the high school and the actual residents in their community center room and explain to them what they can anticipate so that they know what's coming. So I think that body can coordinate for us, and we can make sure that
Well,
happens.
Jeremy, we've been suffering up in the Journal Square area and Ward D for the last several months, between noise, working at night till 3 o'clock in the morning, the traffic and everything. And nobody from their organization has come. I met once with a fellow about 6 months ago, and the people were really fed up, and nothing has been changed. And I think it's wrong.
We definitely got to sit down and Director Kears, if we can make the coordination meeting happen and then a series of public meetings happen with those stakeholders, we can work with the councilman to make that happen. And what I will say about we've talked about this before, about the construction hours. There is going to have to be some give and take on that because we want this project to get done as fast as possible. No matter what we do, it's going to be a disruption to the residents of Jersey City. And so we also can't say we're only going to allow construction for certain periods of time, limiting the hours of the construction, because that's just going to prolong the whole project. So I want us to be mindful with that as we come up with our suggestions. Okay? Okay, so where does that leave us? To the gentleman from DOT? So Director Kears is going to follow up.
I'll work it out with Jeff.
Get the team together as soon as possible. So the request is before, I guess, any of this is to meet with the task force, is that correct? And to work out some alternative plans potentially, and meet with community groups.
Related to this whole, after closing the bridge, prior to this, I don't want to blindside anybody with this, prior to closing the bridge, as I mentioned before, we had to relocate the gas main work. We've started the excavation, the pipes being ordered, we're going to be doing the gas main work first. However, to tie the gas mains in, which was required before we actually closed the bridge, so we can decommission the old main, we had to tie the new relocated main to the old mains. That will require 2 to 5 days of tie-ins at Palisades Avenue by the bridge. That will involve southbound, just narrowing Palisades Avenue, full traffic flowing southbound. Will also require narrowing 139 eastbound to 1 lane for that period of 2 to 5 days. However, it may also require a closure for that short period of time, and then it will reopen again, of Palisades Avenue north of Washburn to make that tie-in. Unfortunately, the gas main is in the middle of, this gas main is in the middle of the road. And that'll be coming late October, early November for a short period of time. Then that's a precursor to the actual bridge closure. But that needs to be done, unfortunately, before the November gas main cutoff period. If we miss that window, we can't go again until April, which pushes the whole project back.
Just so
6-7
I
months.
understand clearly, there's gonna be ongoing construction during the winter.
Winter, despite the weather, that, none of that impacts? Yeah.
Now, we've been working. Yeah, the gas main, unfortunately, has to be done by early November or we push back to April. And which pushes the whole
That's what
project.
we're fighting now is the gas
Yes.
moratorium, that we, whether there's three 8-inch mains in that intersection.
There's one main
One
with a
with the lateral.
Right,
So
unfortunately, they're all.
That's right now is the urgency at Palisade is to tie the gas mains in prior to the moratorium. Once, and that'll be about a 5-day closure.
Right. Now,
And once
that's-
that's closed for 5 days, then we can open up Palisades
we-
again?
If, we can either close Palisades or open up, either way.
We can open it.
Either way. So, I mean, we're not, that doesn't tie to close the bridge, but that's required to close the bridge.
Right.
And also, when that, through those 5 days, does not affect pedestrian movements. Because
Okay.
it's in the middle of the street, so the pedestrian movement will still be as per current. But I just don't make sure everybody, the heads up on that one. That's all part of the KCG gas work.
Okay, so Director Pierce, you leave this over?
Yes, yes.
Get the pipe in and then open
Done, you're good?
Palisades until Oakland's done.
Okay.
Hopefully.
I mean,
So
the
folks,
request that.
thank you.
Thank you.
I know, so that's what the request, you know what I mean?
Okay, Councilman Treaty?
I'm taking a beat on this.
Yeah, well, actually, come on up, and I'm gonna apologize to Councilperson Coleman. You had requested some information, the governor had provided me with it via email. I got into, the hospital, and then it's sat in my email box since then. What's that?
Resolution 10P tonight. 10P.
Yeah, but he's here to present on that, but in previous meetings, Councilperson Coleman had asked me to obtain information about the reentry program's funding sources, and I had reached out to Jim about it, and he had provided me that and emailed it to me, and I just remembered as he sits before me that I had gone into that was before the last council meeting.
What I wanted to know to satisfy constituents that were blasting me at council meetings was what funds we used to renovate the Sacred Heart
Right.
Church. In other words, that was the concern, is did you use JSAP funds to renovate Sacred Heart? Or where did the funds come from? That's what the constituents want to know, and I'm concerned too. I'd like to know, did the money from JSAP renovate that building?
No, they were derived from the state funds, not
Okay,
local funds.
that's what I want.
Yes, yeah.
So
You did explain that to me, I'm sorry.
yeah,
Okay.
And then I felt,
The title of the resolution is a resolution authorizing the city to enter into an agreement with the Jersey City Employment and Training Program, designating the Employment and Training Program as the administrative entity for the Jersey City Workforce Investment Area pursuant to the Workforce Investment Act. It's 10P.
is it Peter?
thank you. Mr. President, thank you. I just want to be succinct because I just appreciate an opportunity to be here before the council. I just wanted to just highlight a little bit about what we're doing so that the council president is fully aware and the council members. And I just wanted to highlight the two major functions that we focus on is obviously employment and training and reentry. But I wanted the first graphic that you see here before you is JSIP at Martin's Place, and it shows our outcomes. And I'll move through this quickly, and if anybody has any question, that we have 1163 clients enrolled in our workshops. We've served 300 reentry clients this past year. I apologize. Thanks, Councilwoman. It's in the folder. We've had a 60% job placement rate, and in the back it shows the recognition that we've received both nationally and the state. And those outcomes are delineated on the memo. It says Jersey Employment Training, first year outcomes, and that lists all the outcomes that we've had, both in terms of training and recidivism. And it goes through vocational training, medical, IT, hospitality, EMT, laborers, carpenters union, et cetera, and shows our success. So I just want you to be aware of our successes to date. The next major document that I wanted to provide, that I spoke to the Council President Lavarro to, was an outline of the projects that we had in the previous year, and that's the memorandum from myself and Adam Freeman to the council and to the mayor. And that shows what we used these funds that you're going to give us this year for the funds that we used last year. And we've broken down each budget item, detailed item by item by item, and we've delineated the successes that we've had to date, evaluating the number of clients served and our success. So I want you to be aware of, these are the same funds for last year that were being given this year, and I want you to have a program up to date with how those monies were spent, program by program, how many clients were served, and our success rate. The next I wanted to present to you was an Office of the Internal Audit, and we are funded in part through federal and state funds, so we are audited by the state of New Jersey. And you'll see the state of New Jersey Department of Labor and Workforce Development, Office of Internal Audit, and our Exit Conference Fiscal Monitoring Audit. And you'll see our findings, which shows that all of our findings in proper and thorough compliance with the state of New Jersey. And that's a source of credit because obviously we've made great strides to bring us fully into auditing compliance and to best practices. The last thing that you'll see is a memo that to Speaker Prieto, because of the basis of the success that we've done in Jersey City and the leadership of John and also Alan, is that we're going to be also continuing the Jersey City model elsewhere. And you'll just see on that front page, this is a memo from June 12th, 2015. You'll see that we've been cited as being the gold standard of reentry and one of 7 programs nationally to be recognized. If you flip, not that you care, but God willing you do care, BJA identified as the forefront of the reentry field, and that in the last page you will see with the ugly picture of myself that council of state governments who evaluated our program featured us as the cover story in council state governments. Council state governments are the monitoring agency for the United States Department of Justice. They do the monitoring to all the reentry programs, the major reentry programs in the country, and because of our successes, featured us. So I'm just really grateful for the hard work of our entire team. And the last thing, I know this is 5 seconds, but I'm already over my budget. Councilman Lavarro said I couldn't do this. But the last is Nikita Presley, and I want Councilwoman to know, I want both Councilwomen to know, Councilman Coleman, she's from 364 Forest Street, Jersey City, and this young lady has a Master's of Business Administration from University of Texas, and she has a bachelor's degree from College of New Jersey, and she's going to be leading our out-of-school youth program, and she's top drawer candidate. So anyway. You want me to make a comment, or I'm just going to let it go? No, you can call the Jersey Journal later. No, we do, yeah, and we have. And who's Alan? Alan, stand up. Introduce yourself.
Good evening. My name is Alan Simmons. I am the employment specialist for the Jersey City Employment Training Program. Also a master's degree individual, actually trying to do the best we can with helping people find employment here in Jersey City.
And Maritza?
Good evening. My name is Maritza Reyes. I am the training service manager for the Jersey City Employment Training Program. I've been in the program 20+ years, and we are in the business of getting people back into the workforce.
And then John?
John Kupos, I'm the deputy director of the agency, and I oversee the reentry program.
So, again, it's just, I am blessed to have a great team. We work long hours, and we've got a great crew, and I just wanted to make this presentation and see if there's any questions that you might have.
How many people live in
They always ask me that question. In employment and training, how many people have worked in
I don't know,
Jersey?
but I can find out for you,
Could-
Joyce. Yeah,
They
sure.
always ask me that Does any question. of these?
How many people?
I do now.
Excuse
I
me?
actually coach Maritza's son in baseball.
Born and raised in Jersey City, I've lived here all my life.
Okay, she does.
And Alan's going to school at St. Peter's?
Yes.
Okay, will be. And I happen to live on Glenwood and JFK now.
How long have these people been with JSAP? Because I don't remember their faces, and you know I come in JSAP all the time.
Alan,
so
how long have you been there?
How long have they been with the,
Actually, since.
Could you stand up when you respond to the councilwoman, please?
Sure, yeah, I've actually been there since, May, June, in that time.
about June? And you, young lady?
I have been there for 20-plus years, even though you may not have seen my face, I'm sort of behind the scenes.
But we just gave Maritza a promotion. Maritza's over at the One Stop.
Oh, okay, because I know she wasn't at,
Yeah.
oh, okay.
Oh, and here, this is a young woman, Nikita. Stand up, come on. Nikita's going to be running our out-of-school youth program, and she's from Jersey.
Pleased to meet you. Pleased to meet you. Welcome.
And also, Nikita happens to be blessed to go to Mount Pisgah AME Church.
So just to clarify for myself, Jim, the dollars here for the JSEP, some of them go to the reentry, but there's also the whole host of other.
Yeah,
Services and
the
programs.
dollars that you're giving us tonight are primarily focused on low-income adults connected to employment, dislocated workers. These are individuals who have received unemployment benefits at any point in the past 6 months. Youth, so these are services to the in-school youth that Nikita is going to be running that program. We were fortunate to be awarded a $1.4 million, so that's going to be very important. WFNJ, which is TANF and General Assistance. This is to provide employment services to help individuals receiving welfare benefits transition to employment. There's also the Learning Link, which is Maritza is dealing with classroom instruction in literacy and mathematics at the Jersey City One Stop Center, Smart Steps, and then the Workforce Development Partnership. So these are the bulk of those monies. The reentry monies come largely from the state in a separate budget item.
I just wanted to, as Jim said, that I was there, visited them. I know Councilperson Coleman and Waterman have been to the reentry program in JSEP many times. I took a tour, several hours over at Martin's Place. It was, what they're doing there is great work, and the outcomes and results that are being achieved, amazing. I encourage all my colleagues. The investment of dollars that we're making there is really paying off in a big way. And I know that there's been a lot of different controversies and so forth, but I think when you see what kind of work is being done there and the results are being achieved, it pales in comparison to kind of some of the other issues and concerns that are being raised in that regard. Diane?
I'd like to say the same thing. I think they're doing great work also, and some of the changes that have been made, the recent changes within the last 6 months, I'm very proud of you understanding how the council gets thrown under the bus, and these changes will improve the relationship with the community, and I'm very, very excited about them, and I welcome you guys. I wish you the best, and I thank you, Governor, for making a few changes to help us out a little bit.
Thank you. And again, thank you, Councilman. Thank you, Council President, for spending so much time, and Councilman Waterman, and all the council. It's just, reentry sometimes is difficult, but it's about saving souls. And what's important for us is that our recidivism rate is 22%. And Rich, you look at the national averages, which is 68, and ours is 22%. And these aren't my numbers. These are the United States Department of Justice, BJA, who are the toughest, strictest. I mean, they go to work at West Point. I mean, these guys are by the book. And so when the Council of State Government says that we're doing this, today I had the pleasure of presenting our numbers to the Anti-Poverty Network, sponsored by the Archdiocese. And it's, and again, this is on a bipartisan basis. I gave credit to the governor, to Speaker Prieto, to the mayor, to Mayor Fulop for what we've been able to do. Hopefully can be replicated throughout our state. Rich, did you have? Okay. Thank you, Councilman.
Okay, any other questions? None? Thank you, Governor.
Thank you.
And
Thank you
to
very
your
much
team.
for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, I didn't take account of how many items people have. Who has one item? Bob, you win the prize, the Cookie doll. You have one, Carmen? Okay, first Bob, then you. First, who's up?
Maureen.
Okay, Maureen.
Ladies and gentlemen, the lovely Maureen Cosby. Airbnb?
Which item is yours?
Airbnb?
No. Well, I have Airbnb, and I also have resolution for... What do you want? No, I have two. I have a resolution for foreclosures with Bonchi.
That would be Z8. Z8.
Hey.
That's bond sheet.
So which one you want? Airbnb, which one?
On the bond sheet.
Bonchi?
So Z8.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, D8 is a professional services agreement with Keith Bonchi for special counsel for foreclosure tax sale certificates in REM.
Any questions with regard to this? Okay, hearing none, let's move on to Airbnb. Which one is it? 3.
Well, no, what we have on the agenda for Airbnb, we'll have to get.
We're walking this
Miss-
on? 3H? What is it?
There
No, it's not.
is a ordinance on the agenda, but that's a. Where are we? No. There was a resolution that was going on that did not go on. I wish Jeremy was back in the room. I wonder if he's out in the hallway. Hector, would you see if Jeremy Farrell is outside?
We're talking about Airbnb. Are we talking about the ordinance or?
No, we're not. That's the planning business.
Okay. Shouldn't they be together?
Well, one is a resolution, and that's authorizing the agreement. We don't have the reso here? No. Oh, right, we're adding it as a last minute item.
Okay, do we have it?
Is it not, we don't have it here? I'll have it if we don't have it. If we don't have it here. Yeah, all right, that's a problem. So just, let me just let me just run it through it. There's going to be a resolution added, hopefully by you guys as a late item tomorrow. That resolution authorizes the entry of an agreement between the city and Airbnb, wherein Airbnb voluntarily collects this fee of 6% and remits it to the city, in exchange for which we worked with them to come up with terms to enable what is considered to be a short-term usage of property. The short-term usage of property language is the ordinance that you guys have, which is a change to our underlying land use zoning rules. And that's the nitty-gritty specifics that we all need to be focused on to make sure that the description in that ordinance meets with how we want our property interest to be used. We have someone here for planning who could talk about it if we have more specific questions. Yeah.
Rooming houses are governed by the state. They have to come in and inspect.
And so just to be
An
clear.
Airbnb, I don't want anybody next door to me running like a rooming house type operation, people coming and
I couldn't
going.
agree with you more.
It's the state, has the state been contacted on this? Are
So
they,
just, okay, just
I
talking
called
about the
today.
ordinance. I just want to make sure we're talking about the ordinance. Okay, so let's bring up Matt. Let's bring up Matt.
Matt.
Because Matt is the, no, don't go anywhere.
Sit here.
3B, folks. Guys. 3B, as in boy. 3B as in Ward B, as in Chico's B.
So to be clear, this is definitely a space that you guys are able to regulate. rooming houses, there are state regulation, and that's about a use of a property where the person is staying for 30 days or less, and there's more than 5, and it's a regular rooming arrangement. This use is being defined differently, and for those specifics, I'll send you over to planning.
Okay, thank you. So what this ordinance does is two things. It makes the definition clear of short-term.
It's an ordinance
Oh.
for the addition of short-term rental use, that definition to be added to the chapter 345, our zoning code.
Correct. So we define short-term rental, and I'll read it. The accessory use of a dwelling unit for the occupancy by someone other than the unit's owner or permanent resident for a period of less than 30 consecutive days. As Jeremy discussed, there is the separate designation of a border. This is a clarification on this type of use. And then in the supplemental zoning chapter, which is 345, Article 5, Section 60, we talk about how short-term rental is permitted.
One of the things that's really important to focus on is that it's 5 separate dwelling units or less, right? So you can't have one owner, in theory, using this particular ordinance to have a dwelling unit with 5, or sorry, we have 5 dwelling units or more.
So if I have 8, I have a one-family house and I have 8 units, I can just rent each unit out, right? If I have 8.
One family house and rent it out.
8, yeah, that's what I asked at the
You said
planning board.
bedrooms?
No, an 8-unit house.
Right. Right, so I can just rent it out.
Wait, let's be clear. We're talking about
Units.
8 units?
Yeah,
That's 8 apartments.
right.
The way that
Apartment house is what you're talking about.
So it can't be a one-family house.
Right. No, wait a minute, it's exactly,
It's not. I know it's a trick, I'm telling you, it's not. I read it already, that's why.
I think it's the exact opposite, is my understanding, is the exact opposite. You can do it in a single-family house, you can't do, if you had 8 units, you couldn't turn all 8 units into
What is a unit?
apartments.
Apartments.
In a one-family house?
A building, let's
Just say building.
A building, you have a building, you own the whole building and it has 8 units in it, you could not, you would not qualify under this.
Not for all.
You could only do 5 of them.
If you could do 5. Beyond that, you'd have to obtain a license.
Hotel license.
Yes. You could have 5 units and then 8 couches that people are sleeping on.
Okay, let me ask you something. How do we regulate that?
But who wants to do that next?
Let me just be clear.
How can we regulate?
There are mechanisms, folks,
Go ahead.
there are mechanisms for people to get licenses to use their property as hotels. There is a process to get regulated as a boarding house. If you want to do that, you have to first have the permissible use of the property, which requires all kinds of standards to be met, sprinklers and whatnot, and you have to satisfy state regulations. That's completely separate from all of this. This is just to enable a short-term use of a person's property, which is why we decided on that 5-unit or less standard to show that we're trying to regulate the space below which the state is regulating, for them to be able to allow to use their property for a short-term use, like Airbnb, where they're enabling people to stay in their house for some period of time. And we adopted the 30-day amount to be clear that it's a short-term use only. You can't use this as a means of running a boarding statute or sublet regulations or things of that nature. This is going to be regulated like anything in our building code. We have inspectors, and it's just another one of the rules they have to enforce like any of the other rules.
In fact,
Less than 5.
5 or less.
5 or less. That's right.
so the planning board voted to recommend this to city council.
Somebody could report 8. Someone could report 8 to building codes, and they will inspect.
And they issue summonses.
violations.
Exactly.
And we can also get the reports probably from Airbnb.
Well, we do have an auditing mechanism with Airbnb, of course.
Right, so if somebody comes to Airbnb and says, I've got an 8-unit building that I want to put up for rental or whatever, will they catch it and say,
I don't know that they would catch it. It depends on how the person, registers it, but we could do audits and things like that.
And
But
they
the
will
be-
allow us to do that?
But, yeah, of course. But the best mechanism, of course, is when people see these uses, like Rich is saying, he doesn't want his neighborhood, someone opening up a boarding house. Well, what would happen is if someone in his neighborhood is doing it, he reports it, then an inspector goes out and says, oh, this is a boarding house, or no, it's not. That's how this works with everything else. This is how it works when people are using their property and are adding on a whole deck or adding on a whole side of the building without a permit. They call in, they report it, a building inspector goes down, they stop work, they issue a summons. It's no different than any of those other rules.
And
They can have up to 5. Up to 5. Up to 5 units.
Dwelling units.
Units.
Okay, but let's say I'm a developer and I have more
It
than
doesn't-
one unit,
you-
it
you-
doesn't matter.
You
I
can get up to 5 units.
Before having to obtain a
each
license.
structure?
No, period, period. Up to 5 units, period.
As a,
it's a way of trying to.
Buildings and they
Right.
each have 5 units, I can still only do 5 units?
That's right, you can
Let
only
me-
do 5.
So the other 15, 25 cannot be used, only one?
You have to go get a license.
You can,
Well,
but you have to go through the proper
Process.
business license, yeah.
Let me just tell them, they're doing it. It's a way of regulating what they're doing.
Councilman Rivera?
So if we start getting the inspector phone call, do we have inspectors to take care of this?
No.
Part of the tax force. Let me explain.
Does that offset the tax revenue we get?
Yeah, so this will allow us to collect certain additional revenues that can then be used for hiring of additional
Just so you
inspectors.
all know, if you go on Airbnb site, look at it. People are doing this. This is a way of the city trying to regulate what they're doing. People are out there renting their homes all over the place. Go online and go Jersey City Airbnb, and they'll give you a whole listing of people who are doing this. This is a way of us tapping into that revenue of what people are doing and trying to regulate what they're actually doing.
If I'm not mistaken, they're gonna do all the collecting and all that kind of stuff. Is that not correct? In other words, we don't have to go and look to collect the charge for the 6%. The organization is going to do all of that and give us the 6%. Is that correct? Correct. And what do we pay them?
What happens is, what we did was, because we have the hotel tax, we contacted them. And then Airbnb came in. And then what we've been doing is working with them, trying to get them to put this fee, which is our hotel tax, on their account. So if you go to any one of the hotels, that's how it works now. And if you go to these, which there are throughout the city, you have these rental markets, okay? You go on and you say you want to rent in Jersey City, or you want to stay for like 3 days, you'd be amazed at what comes up. So there's a whole group that are actually renting. Now you have homeowners who will go in and renting a room. So it's a way of us tapping them and getting the revenue, because they're acting like, almost like a hotel. So we're actually going to, right. But it's been going on for a while, as Kansas knows, so we've been trying to, work with them and just getting into this market, because that's the wave of the future. People use it for a 2-week, you're going to Europe for a month. You could be renting in an apartment house, and what happens is you're subletting your apartment out to somebody to use it for 3 weeks while you're traveling. That's what goes on. So what they're going to do is put the 6% fee on to whatever the room rate is, and then remit it to us. That's how it's going to work.
And their fee is included in it.
Yeah, all their stuff, yep, yep.
So the more that they find, and the more that they get us our 6.2%, the more
6%.
money they make.
Yeah, it's a flat 6%, but
Oh,
yeah,
6%,
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
I know I'm not supposed to have any questions on this, but since it's mine, but I do. A question that came up today, in a conversation on my Facebook that I thought was I just had an assumption that this is how it worked, and I want to make sure before we legislate it that it is the way it works. That it doesn't supersede any condo laws. So if I'm in a condo building and my condo association says we're not going to allow this in our building, that supersedes us, right? Because your own building can have its own rules over and above what the city laws are, right?
You're the renter, you're
Yeah.
you're subject to your own condo rules.
That's right. Yeah.
As a homeowner.
Condo rules still apply. This is not a
Yes.
condo rules.
No.
And for renters, they might be subject to a lease
Right.
Yeah.
agreement.
And that's what I thought, but
Being that Facebook was brought up by somebody here, I think they should read some of the complaints that people had, like an orgy going on, loads of people coming into an apartment, you know,
All
and
of
things.
the occupancy rules, all of that still applies.
Yeah, but, you know, Jeremy, it's a Friday night, somebody rents their house, thing out for Saturday and Sunday, and all hell breaks loose on Saturday and Sunday. They're gone on Monday, and what's the city gonna do about it? Nothing.
You call the police. If there's noise, if there's ruckus, if there's inappropriate behavior.
Refer it to court, meanwhile, they're
No,
gone on
because they'll
Sunday night.
probably have to go
So-
on Airbnb in order to find that that place is eligible for.
Look,
These companies, they do have insurance policies, for property damage or for other external effects that they may have. And I believe that if there is a renter or I guess a host that has reoccurring problems, there's probably recourse there that can happen through these companies.
Inspector for Jersey City from the state. I'm waiting for him now to get back with me some answers. I think this has to be looked into further because the people in 1 and 2 family areas are a little skeptical about this, all right? And, you know, I see a lot of problems coming down the road. Now, I'll be honest with you, my 2 sons are back home today, and they said it's a good idea. They do it in other areas. But if you read the Facebook pages with the problems that people have incurred, it's a shame.
And one of the things I did want to make, if I can just say that, I mean, as Maureen pointed out, it's going on right now. So,
And
I'm
we're
not
getting
suggesting that there aren't legitimate complaints about potentially out there on this, because I'm sure there are. But it's going on right now, and it's unregulated completely. Like, so this allows us some, yeah. And one of the important regulations in here is that they cannot change the nature and the character of a neighborhood through this use. So that key regulation is something that we didn't have as a tool before, which would allow us to say, oh my gosh, you're starting to do this in this neighborhood, and as a result of that, there's endless amounts of noise, or there's endless amounts of signage, or there's endless amounts of cars. Whatever it is, once it rises to that level of changing the nature and the character of the neighborhood, we now have an ordinance that we can enforce where we didn't have that before. So, as Rolando said, there's a use that's happening that our residents clearly want. We're trying to enable our residents to use their property the way they see fit, which is an important property right, but in a way that doesn't disrupt the benefits that the neighbor has in their own property as well. I think it's a good thing all around. Council President Osborne?
Yeah, and just lastly, kind of say, like, I think we should just be careful when we start to say things like, we don't want those kind of people in our neighborhood,
Right,
because
right,
I
right.
find it highly offensive.
Yeah.
You know, it has tinges of some of the stuff that was going on in this country in the 50s and 60s, and I think it's the antithesis of who we are as a city. To say, we don't want these kind of people in our neighborhoods.
And what kind of people are those, you know what I'm saying?
I use Airbnb.
Because it can be, you know, very nice people. I don't know why we say these, you know, it's really offensive, it is.
Okay. With no further discussion, thank you both. Matt, did you have something else? Okay, so I'm gonna ask you to come back for those two, because we had a couple of folks who only had one.
I just want to make sure, we don't have a resolution yet.
You'll have it tomorrow.
It's 3B that we're discussing.
Yeah,
Is
we
that
need it
correct?
first thing in the morning emailed to folks to be able to review.
Would it not come on after we voted on this, on the next council meeting?
No, because
Okay.
the authorization for us will allow us to finish negotiating.
Gotcha, okay.
Okay. Bob, and then Carmen after that. Okay?
I have a very non-controversial item. Yes, I know.
394 Central?
Yes.
Z10.
Z10 is a contract to New Jersey Business Systems for wireless point-to-point upgrades under state contract for 394 Central Avenue.
Good evening, all. This is a very simple project. The city is moving a number of its agencies out of 1 Journal Square Plaza to 394 Central Avenue. And what it basically means is that there are going to be a lot more users in the building, which the city's IT division has to support for both voice and data. And in order to support them properly, we are going to upgrade the radio antennas on top of the roof to permit a higher speed on both voice and data. We're going to be providing phone service for not only the city agencies, which will be at 394 Central, but also for former parking authority staff who are part of the Department of Public Safety. And then we'll also be providing regular PC network service for all the city agencies which are moving into 394 Central. So this antenna will give us higher speeds to that building and more reliability.
Any questions?
Very good.
Thank you.
Okay.
Carmen, you're up.
Carmen is here about the amendment to the Community Development Block Grant, the consolidated plan, that's 10N. And I believe she has a minor amendment to share with us. And she's here with Gigi Gazon.
Hi, Carmen. Hi, Gigi.
So this is an amendment to the resolution that was presented in July. If you guys can recall, in the previous resolution, the Westchester funding was supposed to be allocated as a set-aside. We got our information from Westchester on Friday, I think the 26th or 28th, in regards to the funding allocation amount. So what you see in front of you is that $341,000 is going to be reallocated. And so this is why what we're presenting today in regards to the change in the dollars that were presented. You guys have any?
This represents changes?
Oh, and so what's being passed around is that there was a clerical error from my support staff, 10N. The Chodo set-aside wasn't, it was in there in July, but it wasn't in this resolution that we presented.
The original page, the original.
These are the recommendations for those dollars, Carmen?
Say that again?
These are the recommendations for those dollars?
Yeah, so those were already printed, so you should have a resolution in front of you that has.
The original page that I can substitute to the document.
Hold on. It's right there. It's page 3.
So the amendment you can see is in the fact sheet.
Yeah.
Where it lists the Westchester dollars are being allocated toward admin programs. Community development, public works, code enforcement, community development, relocation, and community development work. So it's clear in the fact sheet where the Westchester monies are going. What's in the resolution is what was previously approved.
Okay, well, what is this?
Oh, that's an insert to page, I believe.
That corrects page 3 of the resolution.
It corrects page 3 of the resolution because the Chodo set-aside was not in there. It was a clerical error. So my support staff caught it, I think, yesterday or today. And so that's just an addition to make sure that the Chodo set-aside is in there.
So this is,
Okay.
This is that's the amendment.
Okay.
I'm gonna give you a call tomorrow to talk about it. So if we approve this? We're approving this?
You
In other
approved
words,
that
if
already.
we approve.
We approved this already.
You're approving the
10
amendments.
Oh, we approved, no, I'm talking about this.
That's been approved already.
Okay.
You're approving the amendments, correct me if I'm wrong.
Right, in the fact sheet.
Back end of the bottom end of the fact sheet.
The bottom of the fact sheet, yes.
Some things have to change over there because I don't think we're communicating clearly. I don't think we're being transparent because there's certain things that I asked for
Okay.
that I'm not clear yet. And I don't understand how we came to this conclusion without those things being discussed first. So we're gonna straighten that out tomorrow. I'm gonna give you a call.
Okay.
And we're gonna talk about how this is gonna proceed while I'm the councilwoman and while we're the council, okay?
Okay.
All right?
Yeah, it's already been approved. You have it in your email. I have documentation that, emails that sent the PDFs that you have. In July. It was in July. So I have the correspondence here where you have the information sent to you. So we'll meet and we'll just rehash this out and identify what was already sent.
Okay,
Food truck.
any other questions?
Yeah, it's just, so ideally, the Westchester set aside is, you know,
The Westchester set aside is the amendment.
okay. Yep, is the only change.
admin programs
And ideally, the,
on the fact sheet,
yes.
lower portion.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. And who else has one? Two.
We gave it three.
Matt is up again. Come on down to the Price is Right.
Yeah, not to work.
Yeah, it's like an unintended consequences, yeah.
I just start with the most.
All right, I think it's the late item. I don't know where it is on the agenda. The Powerhouse Amendment to Merchants Refrigeration.
Yes, that's 3H.
3H.
3H is authorizing amendments to the Powerhouse Arts District Redevelopment Plan Rehabilitation Sub-District. This is for the Historic Merchants Refrigeration Company.
Okay, I do have Lisa John Basta, the attorney that was representing the amendment here, if she needs to speak, if you have any questions. This is amendment to permit self-storage at in the Powerhouse Arts District Redevelopment Plan at the Merchants Refrigeration site. It is a landmarked building. It was originally used as warehouse storage. This amendment will allow self-storage to occur on site as well as permit ground floor retail, and it is the most optimal adaptive reuse for this building, and that is at its core the basis of this amendment. There's some other use or other language about the design requirements, signage, and some of the ancillary uses that come along with self-storage, like the caretaker unit. Are there any questions?
Questions, any comments?
I'll just make a comment that this is something the neighborhood, fully supports. It's something I support as councilperson for this area. It's about as close to historical accuracy as we could get by having it be storage, and that's what it historically was. It also gives us retail on the ground level, which is something I know that the planning department wants, something I want to kind of keep the streets active, and it allows us to maintain the building instead of it getting knocked down, and so many buildings in the pad have been knocked down, and so I think this is a win all the way around.
All right, and you have another item, Matt?
I do. I don't really know how to introduce it, but it is referring to.
It's about a second reading ordinance.
Yeah.
The scatter site redevelopment plan. Now, Matt communicated to my office today a bunch of information that he's disseminating to you now.
Right.
This is 4B.
Jeremy, did you?
What's the,
This is the scattered site.
Right.
Now, there's to
Remember
be.
we had sent it back, I think at one point, asking for, different properties to be reviewed, is that correct? Matt?
So, yes, last week, at the planning board, they made a condition that we look at the roughly 330 properties that were being just removed from this plan, or from the vacant buildings redevelopment plan, and see if any of those were still vacant or blighted. And we went, Willow Latham, who many of you know, she's now a planner in the planning division, and myself, we undertook this big task last week in just a couple of days. We used SDL, Spatial Data Logic, to confirm building COs, CCOs, and TCOs. Narrowing down the list, we got to about 55 properties, and from there, Willow had the great experience of going out in one day and recording all of that information. This is the product of that field work. There's 28 properties out of the 330 properties that were going to be removed that have that are still vacant. And 17 of those are just vacant lots now. The buildings have been removed. And this is a memo letting the council know of these conditions for a possible amendment to this ordinance to re-include them or consider re-inclusion into the scatter site redevelopment plan. And there is actually also a rewrite of the ordinance because it was very explicit in one of the whereas clauses that only the 18 properties were to remain from the latest study.
Do we have a revised ordinance to?
I submitted that today. I did not, I think I printed out a working copy of that.
Start from scratch.
That
Surgically,
yeah.
Prepare for introduction.
Okay.
And we'll no, for tomorrow's meeting. Right, if we have to advertise an amendment.
Right, that's what I'm saying, well, we have to advertise that. 'cause
Yes,
he's
we'd have to
added.
advertise, yeah, you would introduce it, I'd have to advertise it for the meeting.
Yeah.
But we wouldn't hold the public hearing on this tomorrow night.
Just vote it down.
Vote it down?
Okay.
Because you would have already by then introduced the replacement that, so what I have here, will this do it? Would this be it?
That is pretty much, that's everything. Yes.
Councilperson Coleman?
It's a new memo, it's a new fact sheet, it's a new ordinance.
Councilperson Coleman?
This one on
Yeah.
Start, use this.
It's good, yeah.
safety
Let me-
hazard. We've gotten thousands of emails about things falling from it and all kinds of other stuff. So what, 108 Storms Avenue?
208.
No, it says 108 here on the paper.
I misheard you.
Yeah, 108 Storms Avenue. I have emails from the committee person from that area saying that there's things falling. Yes, that,
Yeah.
it's a safety hazard though, so what do we do about that in the meantime? In other words, I see you have it on this list and all that, but what do we do about that building right now that things are falling from in this? To the task force? Okay.
Councilman Rivera?
I have a question, right? Buildings like 108 Storms, building like 26 Seedler, buildings like 746 Grand Street. What is the plan of the planning division with those buildings? Why can't, is there any way we could probably, let's say, do a rec center out of any one of those buildings? You know, we could- a rec center. We need that desperately, and I'd rather have that than to approve or entertain, another, planning.
Like 108 Storms
Yeah,
Avenue
like
is the
108
kind of
Storm-
building
yes.
that could be that,
A rec
or,
center, it's important.
yeah.
So, these are privately owned.
So what would you do with them if we approve this? How would you think, would you buy from that?
So the redevelopment plan, it is not an expansion of the permitted uses. It's only allowing to get built back what is there or what is the surrounding permitted uses. So if one of these buildings that was previously an R1 building, then an R1 building can get put back there or get renovated.
So David Donnelly, this started with the Abandoned Properties Rehabilitation Act, and this whole thing started with David adding new properties to this list, which ultimately we revealed that we had hundreds of properties that were outdated and shouldn't be on the list anymore and so forth. So I think if you have a discussion with David about specific properties, he can just figure out, because again, they're privately owned, what the steps would be needed to be taken to get it on the Abandoned Properties Rehabilitation Act list, and then what sort of uses could be done as a result, whether it's, but somebody ultimately has to acquire the property and still pay for it, whether it's the city or some other private entity would have to come in. Right now, David is qualifying developers for these properties that ultimately make it to the list, so that they can be the ones that will ultimately purchase and acquire those properties, provided that they qualify and that they have a plan to rehabilitate it. If the city were to acquire it, we would have to come up with the funds to do that, whether it be capital funds, CDBG funds, or some other source of money that we deem.
What about the public auction, which we've had for years and years? Why aren't they?
These are privately owned.
These are private.
All right, yeah, but you're saying what's gonna happen is, isn't the city gonna, let's say, not eminent domain, but take
No, the
over
goal
these
would be not
properties?
to eminent domain these properties. The goal would be to designate developers to take on the properties and then to put,
If they don't want to sell, then, yeah. They
so
do-
it depends.
we do have the power.
If the owner refuses to sell and refuses to remediate the property, then we could use eminent domain if we wanted to, yeah.
But they have to remediate it.
Yeah, they would have to
But if they
remediate
don't,
it
yeah.
or do something with the use.
If they want to keep it and are willing to remediate it, we would let them do that. It's just, I mean, they have all of this stuff. They could be doing that right now if they want.
David would work with them.
Put a time span on it.
Right.
Because then, okay, if you tell
Doesn't
them,
assign a
you have
time
to
span.
know, some of these properties haven't been touched in 10, 20 years. That's right.
Yeah.
So now, okay, now if the developer, whoever owns the property, say, okay, I'm gonna do something, what time limit do we give them to do it? We
So-
need a
so
time
David would
limit,
have
because
to-
else there'll be another 10, another 20 years.
David will speak to them and work out, negotiate a redeveloper agreement and determine a timetable by which they have to, perform, remediate the property and rehabilitate it in some way.
And then if they don't, we move on.
And if they don't, then we have the power to
It's
acquire.
redevelopment that determines the time.
Yeah, redevelopment agreement, we negotiate a redevelopment agreement, yes.
But it has to be a time.
Yes, he imposes,
I wanna make it has
he
to be,
imposes a
because we have
timetable.
problem now.
In fact,
10, 20 years,
in
they
fact,
ain't
the,
doing nothing.
if I can just add, the reason we're putting it on here is it allows it to be in a redevelopment plan that authorizes the redevelopment agency to be able to negotiate and establish a redevelopment agreement with these property owners or with other qualified developers to do that.
Are these taxes up to date on all these properties?
They'd be all different.
Some have tax
Some are abandoned, some of them are abandoned, some has, it's all
Well,
different.
if it's abandoned, you know, that's one thing. Then it should go to public auction.
All of them are abandoned, they can't go to public auction.
If
Because
the
somebody
city doesn't
owns
own it,
them.
we
Hold
can't
it.
go.
If they haven't paid their taxes,
Then you do a tax lien, and you sell the tax lien, that's
Yes,
different.
but it
All right.
still belongs to that
and then how
person.
long before,
Tax liens can take very amount of time
It
to
sure
clear, but it's
does.
usually around 3 years.
all right, then the city could take over the property.
Then the person
Person
who
who
buys the
purchases
tax
the
lien
tax lien does.
gets the property.
All right, that's what I'm saying.
The person who buys the tax lien isn't necessarily obligated to rehabilitate the property.
No.
Right? So they can buy it and hold on to it for another 3 years and not pay taxes and so forth. So that's why we're going through this process to allow David to negotiate redevelopment agreements and to be able to kind of force the hand of people who are absentee landlords and just blighting our neighborhoods.
It's a great
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah, you have to,
It's a
they've been
great idea.
terrible, 10, 20 years on this property.
Okay, any other questions related to 4B?
So wait, let me go back to 4B.
Yep.
You're going to include this into the ordinance?
No.
Are we gonna vote it down?
No.
No, we're going to introduce a new ordinance, and we're gonna vote this one down,
Okay.
because this one currently doesn't have these properties that are in that
We're
memo.
gonna vote it down. Because he added these properties too.
Okay.
So that's
Thank
really
you.
gonna be known as 3I,
That's gonna be known as 3I?
the new ordinance that you get tomorrow.
And 3C, we're gonna break down on 4C too, right?
And we're gonna vote down
4B.
4B, we're gonna vote down 4B.
Are we gonna vote down 4C
Yeah.
too?
No, no. Are we? We're
No, you're gonna-
No, we're gonna amend
We're gonna amend it and then re-advertise.
and re-advertise it.
Okay.
You wanna just talk about that now, so we're confident?
Sure, so 4C is the earned sick days ordinance. So going to amend this, Councilperson Osborne had suggested an idea, which was a great idea. That would allow for 2 unpaid sick days for those businesses with less than 10 employees. But we're gonna amend it and strike that language out, unfortunately. And asked you if I could do that, if we could do that. The rationale behind that is that all the other municipalities from Newark to Trenton to Patterson and others are all at 3 paid sick days, without the unpaid sick days for less than 10 employees. So we want to just create, at least the goal is to establish uniformity statewide around an earned sick day policy essentially, so that there's consistency throughout.
So you're gonna amend C to make safe.
We're gonna amend C, yeah, we're gonna amend it, are we gonna have an amended version tomorrow? If we could have an amended version tomorrow, and then we'll re-advertise the amended version, do we need it tomorrow to advertise it?
We need language, sure.
Yeah, I'll have to-
Unless you wanna do what we're doing with this scatter site redevelopment plan, because it doesn't cost you any time to do a new ordinance.
You said you want to introduce a new ordinance? No, I don't want to introduce. I just don't want to go through the politics. I don't want to go through the politics of introducing a new ordinance. I'd rather just amend it. Yeah. I'll have new language for you tomorrow, but amend it from the floor and re-advertise.
Well, just have a document for me.
Yeah, I'll have a document.
No problem.
Okay, so we're going to amend it. We'll introduce an amendment tomorrow, and then we're going to re-advertise it for a public hearing and adoption at the October 28th meeting for consideration. It will be amended at tomorrow's meeting. Okay, and that's 4C, and we'll amend it without public hearing. Is that possible, Robert?
No, we'll have to hold a public hearing, then make a motion to amend it.
Why can't we amend it for a
Well, then we should just introduce a new ordinance and vote it down, to be fast.
I don't think we have to have a public hearing. We're gonna amend it and re-advertise that new hearing.
Just vote it down and start over.
We'll have it figured out for you tomorrow.
You ought to change it.
We shouldn't have two public hearings, let's put it that way.
We won't have two public hearings. Whatever we decide tomorrow, there'll be something introduced. It'll be either an amendment or a new ordinance, and there'll only be one public hearing in this process.
Great.
At the end of the day.
That I support, y'all.
Is there anything else to say about that, Peter? No? Okay, great. Okay, who else has two items? 3, 4, 5?
I have only one.
I think I have 5, but
Hector.
they're not all on your agenda.
Why don't we get Hector? So these guys can.
But they were presented for the agenda meeting, and an edit had to come through, and they're now not on this
Well, I
agenda.
know.
How many items do you have?
Well, I'm trying to four. Why don't
You have
get
4?
Yeah.
Okay, he has 4.
4 of them, 5 of them.
You just want to make me work 14-hour days, and then expect me to
It's
get.
good for you. It's good for you.
Folks,
Hector.
45.
We'll just start with Z11.
Z11.
11 and 12 probably do together.
Okay.
It's 32, 33.
Fine.
Z11, contract with Plymouth Ford, purchasing 8 Ford 2016 all-wheel drive police interceptor vehicles for the Department of Public Safety. 12 is a contract to Emergency Accessories for what we need would be the light packages and emergency equipment for the vehicles that you're purchasing in Z11, correct? Hector?
Correct.
These are all marked cars?
Marked.
Yeah, that's where they're gonna put all these goodies on it, Z12. Puts all the light bells and whistles.
Can I ask you something? We're in need of new police cars. Are any on order? The cars are running 100,000 miles, 120. No, these are interceptors.
These are radio.
They are
Radio
an
cars.
interceptor is a regular car?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, all right.
It just has bigger engines. so that-
Now,
Yeah,
hold,
look at
Hector,
that.
are we gonna get more?
Ford doesn't make anymore.
Right.
Are we
They
going-
moved on to it, they call them an interceptor now.
Don't you think we should order more than 10? Because the fleet is getting old, and how about grants, federal grants?
We have capital improvement.
Capital improvement.
They don't last 5 years.
Give it 3-year useful life.
We built them after 3 years.
Yeah, we do need it.
We'll talk offline.
Absolutely. Yep. We have to work on that.
Okay. Duly noted, duly noted. Any other comments, questions?
Z15 and 16.
Z15 and Z16.
This is the fuel for those cars.
Okay.
National Terminal, Inc. for diesel fuel and Michelle's Oil Company for gasoline for the Division of Automotive Services.
Any questions or comments?
Nope.
While he's here, he can handle Z14 too, that's fire headquarters.
You added one more onto
He snuck on you.
You would have gone next.
Oh, this is how we play.
All right, Z14.
Elevator repairs for fire
About time.
headquarters.
It's about
It's
time,
about
right,
time.
Rich?
I've been breaking Shay's back about this for ages.
Good. Good,
I
good,
do
good.
use the stairs.
Yeah.
But a couple of people there were on crutches, so I didn't go up when I was there.
Stacy.
So, Robert, those two that I handed you were not on the agenda.
I know. They are items Z19 and Z20. Z19 is Whitson's Food Services for the Meals on Wheels program, and Z20 is for New Way concessionaires for the senior congregate sites. Good, Stacy?
So this is just to extend the contract into the end of the year as we begin the process of creating a new RFP. So we can continue without interrupting meal service. You'll see a new RFP process to see if we can reduce costs and get healthier meal options and change up that in the new year. But, so that's where we are with those two. There were two, oh, so then 11, what is it, 11 resolution? Okay, so,
Is that it? We're done there? Any
no,
questions?
so I have more, yeah.
Yeah. Next
So
item.
there are two items that were provided to you by John McKinney.
Okay.
Today, they were to walk on for economic development grants.
Okay, in agreement with JCDC for cost reimbursement for Healthier Jersey City program.
Yeah.
That would be Z25.
So just one, we're just doing one grant for the two. So, I got one. So that is, there's two grants that are sitting in the Economic Development Corporation.
You're not doing Adopt-A-Lot too, are you?
Yeah.
Okay, that's Z26,
Okay.
Z25 and Z26.
So Z25
If it's late, it's Stacy's.
Yeah. Z25 is dollars for early childhood development, capacity building, and training. You may or may not know, but this past year, the Urban League lost its funding to do CDA courses, which is the Child Development Associate, which is a certification for daycare providers. And so it's a training ground so that we have more skilled individuals working in daycare. So when they lost their dollars, they stopped their programming. So we approached the Fireman Foundation, who's really interested in early childhood development. They wanted to look at it as an economic development issue, so they had funded the Economic Development Corporation, $75,000 of which HHS will receive $69,000 to create a toolkit and capacity building program in partnership with the Urban League and other local nonprofits to continue educating and training early childhood professionals. The Z26, also with economic development, was a $20,000 grant through Horizon Foundation to inspire and continue the growing of vegetables in communities through our Adopt-A-Lot programs. And this offsets the cost for the Department of Public Works in partnership with HHS to provide tools, mulch, soil, et cetera, to the Adopt-A-Lots throughout the city. And then I have L.
10L.
And that is the intergovernmental agreement for HIV. As a city, we work closely with the county to provide local nonprofits with dollars to do HIV prevention, intervention efforts, and this is just a standard annual memorandum of understanding. This is the Ryan White dollars. So every county, every municipality gets Ryan White money, which was named after a young boy who died of HIV. That is multi-million dollars in the state of New Jersey. The county gets a significant amount of money. For Jersey City to give out that money becomes a very complex process, so that we just coordinate with the county, and the county does that grant management in the name of the mayor.
Any questions?
And then R,
10R.
and that is,
We've got grants for the Women's, Infant, and Children's Program from the state of New Jersey.
so I think you all know that we operate a very large WIC program, and that's a supplemental food program for women, infants, and children. And last year, we got an increase in that funding for breastfeeding, peer counseling, to kind of continue down that path. The year starts now, and so we just need to accept the money. It's $1.6 million straight for the women, for direct services. That doesn't include dollar for dollar the amount of money that we give out in the community, which is probably about $50,000 a month, more or less. And then an additional $200,000 between two grants. There's 3 different grants in the mix for breastfeeding, peer counseling, and then peer counseling administration, which is something that we got back this past year that was managed actually through North Hudson. And so now we manage our own, we get to hire our own peer counselors, and it's a great workforce development project of hiring former WIC clients. So. Yes, this is the most efficient grant probably in the city. And I mean, WIC is probably one of the most efficient grants in the country, but every dollar, yeah, Deborah is still up there making it happen. And, you know, this past year, since we moved into all together in the campus, we've been able to leverage additional monies, and WIC does cover the cost of rent and the electricity, all of the kind of things that in the past the city was paying for. So, and we have extended hours, and so we've been able to continue to extend hours, and staff that speak, I think now, 8 different languages. So, yeah.
Rick has one.
You know, they were supposed to come up to
Every day,
Paul.
we get more and more excellent support from the Department of Public Works. I think a few of them live with us now. And I think, you know, there's so many people that have so much work to do. It's really hard to manage through that, but I think, I mean, like everywhere, I now have a beautiful office with a lock and a key. It's amazing. And I know, it's amazing. Although one of the frames fell off the wall, and now I've got broken glass everywhere. But, yeah. Well, they did actually. Recently we just had new toilets put in. John is really on top of that. I think, I mean, if there's like some commendation for someone that has to deal with like literally the things that he deals with, it's incredible how he can kind of make that happen. And so I think everyone's really satisfied.
Came up with the ordinance that there's a joke.
But I actually think everybody really enjoys it, and if you haven't visited the WIC clinic, it looks absolutely beautiful. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, everything I think we can use a nicer fence, if that's something, you know? Like all those pretty fences everywhere else in town. But, I mean, that would actually, I think, spruce it up a bit on that neighborhood, especially since it's very close to this 139 issue. Nervous, Baldwin Avenue. I think people are really happy. Obviously, parking is an issue across the city. So, but the parking authority's been actually really effective in the neighborhood. You may hear from people that our staff park, and just because it's not something that's not heard of around the city. I think that neighborhoods should have residential parking, and I'll go on record saying that. I think it's really important for the council members in that area to give residents like parking, because there are no parking. There's no parking right there, and so people park where there's no rules, and then the residents get upset. Yeah.
Okay. I've been looking into it too, because I travel that route every single morning, and people double park right on the corner. You can't get around. You can't. Traffic is backed up all the way down, and with now Pavonia Avenue, with Palisades Avenue closing, it already takes a half hour to get from there to Newark Avenue. So
yeah, they're gonna do a traffic study right there. Yeah. Yeah.
Greg has one.
Gentlemen, sorry, Greg, you have one item? Greg, you should have told us earlier. Yeah. You're in and out.
This regarding the ordinance 138, moving the Office of Emergency Management from the Mayor's office to the Department of Public Safety.
3C.
Number one, I fully support this. The mission is very, very similar. I have a great working relationship with Director Jim Shea. The only thing I would add, in 2002, when Jersey City and Newark became the Jersey City Newark UASI, the Urban Area Security Initiative, the additional responsibilities of the Homeland Security, preparedness, funding, and basically all planning related to that was put onto the Office of Emergency Management. Newark, it's Jersey City, Newark, it's the Office of Emergency Management, Homeland Security. I just asked that that also be added into the title of the office.
So just, you know what, if there's any email tomorrow, we'll adjust.
Okay, that's it. All right, thank you.
Wait. There is a resolution that they might ask about.
What security?
No, it's a grant, Port Security Grant Program.
Yeah, it didn't emanate
That's
from.
10U.
Yeah, it didn't emanate from my office, but I'm familiar with it. Port Security Grant Program, there again, it's another federal grant. It's administered through the Port Authority in New York and New Jersey. This particular grant, I believe, covers the mutual link upgrades in the Joe Lavaro Seaburn fire vessel, and also, I believe, some additional foam upgrades that we're planning on doing. Yeah, it's administered through the fire department, but as I say, I am familiar with it. I believe there's no in-kind match with this either.
Any questions?
There is. Is that in employee, though? Employee compensation? I think it's man-hours they'll accept. Is it? Yeah, I know with some of them, they accept a in-kind match of man-hours applied to the mission.
Any questions? Hearing none?
No.
Thank you. Can we find out the source of that?
It's their penalty trust fund. Their penalty. So we have engineering and architecture. What's your pleasure?
Engineering.
Engineering. Let's introduce you to our new municipal engineer. This is Joe Cunha. Along
Welcome,
with,
Mr. Cunha.
And we know Stanley Wong.
Your first meeting, and
First meeting in the city, yes. Glad to be here.
eventful.
Thank you for having me. Okay, this evening I'm going to go ahead and start. I apologize, my voice is a little bit strained, but I'll try to speak up. And I just got started. Okay, it's that time of year again for us to submit the New Jersey Transportation Trust Fund applications for local aid.
So
We're starting with 717. V.
Through 10Y. Council members, you'll see that we have a duplication.
Yes,
What
we
we're
do.
hoping for is you'll allow us to sub out for V, a resolution for the transit village, is it, Joe?
That is correct. I have copies with me.
V and Y are identical.
Okay.
It's correct. The resolution's a dupe. Yeah, if you give me the original before you leave. V will be for the, would you read the, could I have that so I can read the title, Jeff? Thanks, pal. No, it's changing. A grant contract with the New Jersey Department of Transportation for the 2016 Transit Village Program. That's gonna be V. It's gonna take the place of the dupe. Okay, so that'll be,
That's a $500,000 grant we're applying for. For the Journal Square Transit Hub. Correct, Joe?
That's correct. It's for pedestrian safety improvements. A lot of the crosswalks that you've seen already, we would be expanding that program.
So your fact sheet is correct, just to cover resolution 10V, yes. So if you read your fact sheet, that is correct.
Okay. Will you send, someone will send us the corrected resolution? Who will send it to us?
Look at the fact,
The fact
correct.
sheet is correct on 10V, the resolution language is incorrect.
Right, it's a duplicate of 10Y.
Oh, you have it?
Yes, I apologize.
right, V will be what Stanley is handing out, the Transit Village Program, the 2016 Transit Village Program.
Put 10V, this is 10V.
Okay, this is submission of a grant application for the Transit Village.
It's essentially, yes, it's four separate programs. That's correct.
Okay? Yeah, continue, go.
Yeah. W is for 2006 Municipal Aid Program to fund roadway improvements. These are all grants from the New Jersey Department of Transportation.
Yes,
X is the 2016 Safe Streets to Transit Program. And Y is the Bikeability Initiative Project.
Okay.
Okay, good, yeah.
Okay, so,
V, W, X, and Y.
okay, so I'll start with V then. The Transit Village, the one we just handed out. What that is a continuation of a program that we started. Actually, it was funded the last time, I believe it was 3 years ago. And it was in Journal Square, which is the only transit village that we have designated in the city. We are looking to expand the Transit Village program into other areas and designating other areas. But for now, we'll stick with Journal Square, as that is a time-consuming process, and it is very involved. So we're hoping to get at least some of this funding and expand the awareness of pedestrians in Journal Square. The second one is W. That's what we call our standard road improvement day fund. This is usually the biggest fund that we have. This one's usually in the range of 70 to 80 million across the state. It's the least competitive, well, I shouldn't say least competitive, but that's the one that we get urban aid plus municipal aid. Yes, we're applying for $1 million and 1.6 million. We are applying for a, sorry. That's correct. Sure.
Yeah, it's, some people might argue it's tangential, but it bears discussing now. We repave roads, and they get ripped up, sometimes without our knowledge, as we found out over the last week, and they don't get repaired. I sponsored an ordinance in January that said, if you rip up one of our roads, because we're spending money, right? We're spending money to redo these roads. It's taxpayer dollars or grant money. It's somebody's tax dollars. And people are continuing to rip up the roads and patch them and not pave them according to the standards set forth in my ordinance that we all passed. And I don't know, I walk around, maybe this weekend what I'm gonna do is walk every single street in downtown and take pictures of everything that looks like a new patch, because they're all over downtown. And I know what the PSC&G ones look like. They're the long skinny ones in the middle of the road. There's tons that are not the long skinny ones in the middle of the road, which means that the ordinance isn't being followed. And I don't know what we need to do. Yeah, Jersey City Crap on Twitter. There's a Twitter handle called Jersey City Crap. He tweets me some of those, and a bunch of other people do, and I see them myself. And it's like, I don't know. Like, what do we do? Because it's well, and it's
Well, it's
you have
separate
to
from,
repave the block to block,
yeah, curb to curb.
curb to curb.
For anything under 10 years of age, road-wise, age-wise.
It's not just
They have a separate agreement.
everybody.
They're gonna repave, what they've started by, say, December 1st. And they're gonna finish phase 2 in the spring. What the councilman is speaking of is some other work that's being done that we don't know about. So, we've come across, there's a lack of communication between the police off-duty office and the permitting office. That's one of the things we're meeting this week, as Greg Kearse mentioned earlier about a little sub-traffic committee. It's going to address these other issues as well. Joe's trying to get to the bottom of it. He's only here a couple of weeks now.
Yeah, no, and this is why I'm
We
just
found
bringing it
that
up,
one, too.
because it's like, I mean, I guarantee you I could probably find 30 instances of, put it this way, I've never seen a road be fully done since we passed the ordinance. And I know that there's certainly been other work that's happened besides PSSNG in the last 7, 8, 9 months. So it's definitely like something is amok. I don't know if we need to just send a memo to every single police officer that says if you see any work happening on the streets, pick up the phone and call you or something.
Permits?
No, some of them didn't even have permits.
That's the problem. So
I called in two today.
They're getting an off-duty officer, they're not getting a permit, so we have to get coordination there. But we've asked Joe's staff to put together a listing of all permits issued since the beginning of the year, so we can track what was approved and what's not approved.
That's right. We're also streamlining that into a digital process. Right now, we're not digital yet, so we're tying together 2 databases, and we're also going to do a Google Map-based map program, which is actually an offshoot that's more for the impacts to traffic, so that the public can see that. But the mainframe behind it is actually the basis of our entire permit program. So in the case of Councilwoman Osborne, she's referring to Montgomery near Green. Well, yeah, specifically, yes, I understand. But this one that happened just in the last week and a half, we did track it down. It was an expired permit, so they did have a permit. It was the JCMUA. So we have contacted them, and as Administrator Kekelowski mentioned, there is a little bit of a breakdown with off-duty and ourselves, and we're trying to work that out so that we have a seamless, go-through and process that we can firmly stick behind, because
What does the off-duty officer have to do with?
Because
Well, they're there.
the police is there.
They're
They're
front
seeing
line.
the job, and they're not.
Not checking the
One of the first things they're supposed to do is check to make sure there's a permit. It's one of the first things the police officer's supposed to do when they arrive.
How are they even assigned to be doing off-duty work for a job without a permit?
Well,
That's what I want to know.
That's the breakdown.
that's the
Yeah.
breakdown.
The
They shouldn't
vendor-
even be there.
The vendor calls and they get the off-duty officer.
Yeah, but he's supposed to ask as soon as he goes.
100% right.
Just like ask, can I see your driver's license or insurance?
Hence the
He's
breakdown.
supposed to say, can I see your permit?
Before they even get the off-duty officer, so they go in and they ask, someone's going to the police to ask them for an off-duty officer, right? Yeah, they fill out some paperwork. They should just say, show me your permit before you get an off-duty officer.
That's right.
Right?
That might be a better process instead of relying on one of 8, there's 800 different officers. A new one comes on who doesn't know the rule, and it's just gonna be a continuous gap. We should have the person who's assigning the officers check it.
They're assigned.
Yeah.
We have a meeting with the PIC masters tomorrow, not specifically about this,
Okay.
but I will definitely bring that up.
Is Shay gonna be there?
Is who I
Is
apologize.
Shay gonna be there?
No.
He was out today because I
No,
was
I'll-
ranting and raving about a couple of things going on downtown, and they went over today. One was an emergency repair, you don't need any permits supposedly. Am I
No,
right?
this,
That's what
I was just
told.
gonna touch on this.
And the other one was they had to open the street. I call Monte Zucker
Yeah,
every day.
yeah, they're redefining emergency.
Yeah.
Like,
I
oh,
mean,
it's an
a joke.
emergency.
We still have pig masters? I thought we eliminated that.
No, they're still, no, for any, they're still happening.
That's what we need to do.
So we have a central location, right?
You know, because they know.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe I used the wrong terminology.
Yes.
Yeah, we should figure out some way of auditing the emergency. Because it's being used as an excuse, guaranteed.
Yeah, actually, the emergency will, I'm gonna say 9 out of 10 times, probably 10 out of 10 times, have an officer there, be it at the last, even possibly even an on-duty officer. The breakdown is the backfeed for us to know.
But if it's like really an emergency, then like how are you like having time? Like I'm gonna call, that's like, excuse me, listening public BS, the number of emergencies that go on.
Even if it's emergency, the agency who sent the crew out has a work order. JCMUA, United Water, or PSNG, they have to send the crew. You go out, take care of that. So we should go to the source to say that if you send out the emergency crew, we want a copy. And gas company usually send after the fact that emergency work is done. Application comes in, they pay the fee. They've done that. But JCMU, United Water, we don't have any record at this point.
Stanley? Okay. I thought the MUA doesn't have to get a permit. They could just go out and do what the heck.
We make their contractors get the permits, they just don't pay. They don't pay a fee if they use a contractor.
The contractor can't get the permit. It's a closed
Anyway, that whole thing needs to be cleaned up.
That's what we're working on.
So, resolution here? Joe, what's the resolution here?
The resolution is on the act.
Just, you're all over it, and you're gonna take care of this.
Yes.
That is correct.
That's what I wanna hear.
That is correct, yeah.
Next.
Thanks.
And we have the help of the BA's office as well. So yes, that's that. So back to the road program here. Safe Streets to Transit, we're looking to submit. This is X. We're looking to submit this application. This is a much more competitive, anything other than the roads, the run-of-the-mill road improvements is very competitive. We maybe get it every 4 years, if that. So it's a resubmission of a previous. We're looking to make the Hudsonburg and Light Rail Station and Hudsonburg and Light Rail vicinity near Liberty Science Center, is that correct, Stanley? Safer for pedestrians. Johnston Avenue and...
Pedestrian walk safely into the train station. That's what qualify for the application. Is people can walk safely Little Street into the train station.
Right, a safe, complete path to the to the light rail station.
Light rail station, even State Park.
Are you gonna do that by adding more lights?
I don't believe lights are going to, well, they could be part of it, pedestrian lights.
Street, and decorate and light and everything else, make it safe to walk.
That's correct. It's all about awareness for the pedestrians, and it's competitive. You have to meet certain criteria.
Improvements to street lightings are included.
Yeah, like ped heads with the countdown and whatnot, things of that nature. Cameras, not right now, not that I recall, no. But then again, this is all very preliminary. So we'll see what kind of funding we get, and then we plan the job from there. And the final one is the Bikeability Initiative Project. I'm sure you're all familiar with we hit a blitzkrieg of bike lanes everywhere. We're going to try to tie them all together and try to make... That could be part of it.
How about that flying off the sidewalks?
Yep.
I mean, it's a shame what's going on out there, and somebody's gonna get killed.
Yeah, this is, this was initially submitted, I believe also 3 years ago, actually 2 years ago. This was, it's a bikeability initiative where we basically analyze our entire bikeability citywide and address improvements to be made and start a planning process from there that we could systematically attack 1 year at a time or...
I would just like to ask one thing. Before you put bike lanes again, I think there should be some standard of what size the street should be, because
There is,
I
yes.
find it very difficult to get up Fulton Avenue and a couple of other blocks that are one-way streets, and they have a bike lane which takes up half of the street. So even if a person is riding a bike there, you know what I mean?
Yes,
So I think
absolutely.
you should set a standard of what streets get a bike lane for safety reasons for the car and the biker, because the street is not big enough for a bike lane, it shouldn't have one.
That is correct. There are federal and state requirements for that, and,
Okay, well,
yeah, that's one of the main issues with.
I think that have not been looked at while these bike lanes have gone down, because I'm sure, and the only reason I remember Fulton Avenue is because I had to pull over into a open driveway light to let a biker get by, which means the street wasn't big enough
Yep,
for
that's
me
it.
and the
First two.
bike to go down it at the same time.
Any other check Fulton Avenue? Compliance on that?
One other question. I think it's related. I spoke to you about grant. Wasn't there grant funding also for Ocean Avenue? This paving of Ocean Avenue from last year?
No, actually MLK, and I wanted to touch on that. Ocean Avenue was,
Ocean Avenue was paved in 1997, and we intend to apply for another grant. The next
I think we ran, exactly right.
There was one from last year. I have it laying on my desk.
You're correct. I think we applied for multiple streets, and that was one that actually got left off because we either ran out of funding. I don't know exactly, but I could get back to you on that.
Because it looks like it got waters here. If you go from Ward A into Ward F.
Yeah, it's hard.
You
It
couldn't-
is.
Just try putting all the goldfish on the seat and driving down there to see if there's any water left. I mean, I was just wondering what happened to the grant funding.
So the plan for Ocean Avenue was this, and the only reason why we didn't apply for Ocean Avenue as part of the roadways is because MLK Drive, we were promised, or we were slated, I should say, as part of Sandy recovery money for MLK Drive. We went ahead and rushed the design. The design is 99% complete, but now the funding was pulled. It was given to Seabright. So now we have no funding for that job, but a job that's ready. And instead of going on a shelf, we decided to go ahead, and this money's going to be programmed right away. Ocean Avenue, we are planning on applying on an LAIF, which is Local Aid Infrastructure Fund. It used to be called discretionary aid. So it's an off-cycle type of aid. Every year we've been applying. We don't always get it, but because we're Jersey City and we're one of the largest municipalities,
Who's preparing these grant applications?
my office is.
And does the grant, we have a grant consultant, are they working with you, or?
We just started this year, I believe, actually, last year they did as well, but what happens with DOT applications, they're very technically based.
Yes.
So we find that as long as they take care of the scope of work section for us, we are working with Millennium Strategies, that's
Okay.
working out.
Great.
We take care of the rest as far as estimates and the technical data. So that's, you're absolutely right, Council. There is a hope for Ocean Avenue.
Okay, other questions related to these grant applications?
Z6 and
No, I
Z7.
just have one more thought then.
Councilperson?
What we should do is we should pull the number of we should ask Union City for the number of emergencies they get and compare per amount of roadway they have to the number of emergencies we get in Jersey City. I bet you're gonna find ours are much higher, and I think Union City should be the standard.
I worked on the Union City
Oh, okay.
ordinance years ago, and Ralph Tango was one of my mentors.
Excellent.
He's
Okay,
the-
good.
He's the engineer, so I'll ask him
Cool.
how they control the emergencies.
The emergency gas, the emergency, you name it.
Okay, what are the other items?
Z6 and Z7, they're both professional services agreements to the same individual, Edward Ryman. One is for the Jersey Avenue, Phillips Street, Johnston Avenue, Audrey Zapp Drive project, and the other for Wilson Street, assessment and design of roadway lighting.
Okay, so I'll start with the Philip Johnston, I'll just call it the Jersey Ave Bridge project, but the signal portion, that's all this is. As you may recall, the state and the federal government combined to take over the actual funding, designing, and building of the Jersey Avenue Bridge Extension project. And this is a requirement. A signal at this intersection is going to be a requirement. This is the portion that the city will have to do on their own, take on their own. This is the first step. We solicited quotes. Mr. Ryman solicited the lowest quote, and he's also the overall best package, all things considered.
So my understanding was that there was all kinds of DEP issues with the Jersey Ave Extension project, and that it's not gonna come to fruition anytime soon. Is that changed? And if not, then why are we doing this now?
That's not my understanding.
Jersey Avenue Bridge is Turnpike Authority who did it for us. The very beginning that city is supposed to do the design, then you have to clear all the permit requirements and everything. And when it's done, turn it over to Turnpike Authority. They're going to pay for the construction. Because of the administration change, we did not do the design. So lastly, I contact them. They say, "Where's your design?" I say, "We haven't get started yet." They said, "That's no good because the Turnpike Authority is $10 million. They have a time limit to spend." So they say, "We take over. We start the design." So they hire the consultant engineer, do the design. We have several meetings with them, go through the phase 1, 2, 3, and it's ready to advertise. They come to this close. And Doc Calucci is the one who coordinated with them, all together.
Stanley, when was the last time you spoke to the Turnpike Authority, and what was the status? How close are they in design, permitting, and completion, and ready for bid?
Well, they're supposed to be able to advertise and bid the job maybe this winter.
So
Construction maybe next year beginning.
I would
That's their schedule. We have to see how close they are. So they do take the burden of designing and get all the permit from the DEP and every agencies. So by the time that they finish the Jersey Avenue Bridge, when you come across to the Johnston Avenue, you need a traffic light. So we tell them to say that you design a bridge, you need a traffic light. Otherwise, you have ribbon cutting, all the cars stop at the
I'm just a little confused because I'm Councilwoman Osborne. I thought this was like this wasn't going to happen because the argument was, there's several arguments. One of them was that traffic light. Where are you going to put that traffic light? So I think that we shouldn't even touch this until we get some sort of a structure, and then so it can be presented, because I thought this was like a mute subject.
So therefore, the Turnpike's $10 million to design the bridge for the city, and we asked them, "Would you have to design the intersection light? Otherwise, it doesn't work."
Well,
But their concern is that their budget is tight. They use the money to do the design and then pay for the construction.
if you'll,
So we should reach out to.
if you'll allow me,
So
yes.
we can get an update on the project before the council entertains it.
Exactly. Okay.
Councilperson Bojano, then Cole.
Stanley, I gotta ask you something. There might be 2 or 3 people in this room that remember and go far back 15 years ago. They were gonna put a bridge there, maybe even a little longer than 15 years ago, and they were stopped by I think the DEP, because there's a fish that breeds under that area there. That issue's been stopped?
No, it's all resolved.
Oh, the fish, it's all resolved? What are they doing with the fish? I'm just saying, I remember a big issue on this because the neighborhood block groups got involved, they didn't want it, they didn't want the traffic coming down Jersey, and they found this fish that breeds under there. I know. So what happened to that issue though, where the government stopped the building of the bridge?
The consultant also had engaged the environmental engineer in dealing with our permit and everything else. They have never bring it up to our concern. That means they are moving forward. And they have encroached some of the wetland, and they deal with it too.
We'll prepare a more detailed report on that.
Councilman Coleman.
If we don't have an answer by tomorrow, we'll withdraw it.
I'm not clear. In other words, I heard it was stopped, then I heard we missed the target, and then I heard somebody else created the design, and I'm not clear. In other words, I'm asking for just a short synopsis of what happened. It stopped, and it started back, and where we are. And I'm not clear on that, so that's what I'm asking.
Councilperson Osborne.
I asked a couple of caucuses ago, and I don't remember exactly when, that if this did, whatever got close to coming to fruition, the traffic study that was done by the redevelopment agency, however many years ago, didn't do an impact to downtown, which is insane, but it didn't. So, I understand the theory that it's only going to redirect the current traffic. However, I think a logical person would say, if you make it easier, then more people will get off the turnpike earlier and use it as a shortcut, which will send more people in the mornings traveling through downtown Jersey City, using all the side streets as a shortcut, because anytime you make something easier, more people do it, right?
You can't get down Pacific Avenue now. I know, I go down.
Any sake of it.
You can't, that's pushing everywhere.
We have a purpose, and the purpose is to relieve downtown area where people work, and they don't have to cram in the Jersey City street when they get out after work or come to work.
quarterbacking this for the city?
That's been studied.
The proper solution is to do the turnpike, to finish the project that was started back in the 80s, where LaFrac did his half, going to Washington Street, which is a perfect street instead of Grand Street, and dump people off the turnpike there. And this is gonna kill, people are gonna use it as a shortcut to the Holland Tunnel, mark my words.
I have to take the turnpike.
I am just like clarity.
And I'd like to have the bridge there so that the people from downtown can come up and visit.
Well, I think they have to find out more information before we even
I
vote
want
on
a
this.
traffic study.
Well, yeah, they have to
So,
find out more information.
folks,
yeah.
What is if this expires, is that a problem, this bid?
It can wait 2
Folks,
weeks.
it can wait 2 weeks. Can we have this withdrawn?
We'll withdraw it.
Just have it withdrawn, circle up with Doug and engineering.
Z6, we're gonna keep Z7?
Yeah, it's a different project.
Are they different projects?
Right, so Z6 is withdrawn.
Z6 is withdrawn.
All right, Z7 is Wilson Street.
Wait a minute, before we put this back on, we need to have clarity and a timetable. In other words, you
Yes.
said it started, then they withdrew the money and we lost it and we got it back. In other words, there's no clarity on when is it gonna happen, if it's gonna happen.
Yeah, and we've been telling, I
So
told
I
the
will-
neighborhood, I told Van Horst Park that, because I was told it was caught up
It
in
was,
DEP.
well,
and
that's
so
what
said,
I was
"Don't worry,
told,
it's
that's
nothing's
what.
happening anytime
Yeah,
soon. So-
okay, so we need that clarification.
So I will have Margaret reach out to Doug and to meet with anyone to discuss where this is and what the, what the plan is moving forward. It seems like folks are not. Okay, a written synopsis, to get a written synopsis. And whoever wants to meet with them, she'll schedule a meeting. I want to meet with them.
I would like a meeting, and I would like, before we have a meeting, for a traffic study. And if anybody wants the materials from the 1984 study, it was done where it said 1/3 of the people on the roads downtown in 1984 were using downtown Jersey City as a shortcut to the Holland Tunnel, and tell me this isn't gonna increase it.
Next item.
So we're taking that off.
It's off.
Okay.
Z7.
Okay, Wilson Street. We had received a grant from the, from the DOT to enhance safety also on Wilson Street, mainly with regard to the lighting. Right now, it's very dim in that area, difficult to see, even the pedestrian walkways. So essentially, we're going to go ahead and hire Mr. Ryman, who was also solicited as the lowest and most responsible bidder, or professional service vendor, to prepare the,
Liberty Science Center.
it's the strip next to the parking lot of the Liberty Science Center, yeah. That's correct. We paved Jersey City Boulevard, and now it's time to wrap this in and bring more awareness to foot traffic in that area.
Okay, folks. Z7, any questions or comments? Okay, hearing none. Do you have any other items, sir?
No, that's all.
That's it?
Welcome.
Joe D'Souza's not here. His are great.
Welcome on board. Welcome to Jersey City. Who's up?
Okay,
Brian, how are you, pal?
Oh, apple tree.
Yes, that's the Hunter Research for the Apple Tree House. Brian, you just have the one, Brian?
Yes, but it was a late item, so
Okay.
give me.
Yeah, this is mandated by the state because the site is a historic site on the National Register, and this particular archaeologist is approved by the state and was involved with phases 1 and 2, and I think it would be most efficient if he could finish, because he actually is holding artifacts from phases 1 and 2. That's okay.
Take care. You're in tomorrow.
So if anybody has any questions, it is required that he be on site. You'll see a breakout in his proposal. It's required that he's on site from the time we remove tree stumps and do all excavation for footing and subsurface drainage structures that are going to protect the foundation of the house. No, I think we're still under 5 million. But it's pretty expensive per square foot.
It's unbelievable what this place has cost. You could have built 50 houses for what this has cost. This is unbelievable.
Well,
It should have been finished and done years ago.
I can't disagree with you, Councilman, but I will say that a lot of the funds is from grants, state,
Yeah, it's
historic
grants, but it's
trust.
still our taxpayers' money. We pay federal taxes. You know, this is an excuse some of the politicians who say, oh, it's not your money, it's state money.
Honestly, I just, knowing it's been around through several administrations,
blaming you.
I would just like to get it finished. I mean, the work that's been put into it, I'm sure you've seen
I'm into
it.
history, and the people,
Yep.
well, those of us that are in the city are really totally disgusted.
We're this
What are the
close.
artifacts?
We're this close.
You know, you said-
I believe they found bottles and not much else.
Yeah, they're really good. I had to go over there and tell them when they dig up the septic, the outhouse, you know, watch what you find, because that's
Yes,
where all
well,
the buried treasure is.
we're going to have a certified archaeologist on site.
Because, I mean,
The contractor cannot start until he gets on site.
Let me just tell you, in the old days when they filled in the outhouse, they took all their garbage and everything and dumped it in there and filled it.
Yep.
You should know this for any from the country.
I never had an outhouse.
Anything else?
No.
You have one item?
Yeah. But it was a late item.
Late item. So he took his punishment.
Oh, my gosh, you're a good guy, you're a good man.
My punishment. No, actually, honestly, I actually wanted to make sure everybody was happy with their new engineer, and I'm happy to see that I think everybody is.
Yeah, he seems like he's really, really good.
Yeah.
I love that he's putting like stuff on Google Maps, it's awesome. Really good. And tell him that, give him my good feedback.
I don't think I need to, but
Yes.
Okay.
Are we done?
Is there anything else? Anyone else?
Yeah, we did well with him.
Anyone else?
I think that's all I have.
Brian, gives a coupon for an early trip to the mic next time.
No, I wanted to stay with these guys. But they didn't stay for me, just for you.
Thanks, Brian.
From the top.
Thank you.
Want to make any announcements before we forget?
Before we go through the rest of the agenda,
So, at the meeting tomorrow, we will, untable both the Jersey City Incinerator Authority, ordinance and the bond ordinance. Which one? No. Oh, as far as where they are on the agenda, do you have the agenda?
Wait.
In the table, right?
The second page of the table of the agenda is not there. We're talking about the, yeah, it's not there. I will make sure it's appended to,
It's the last sheet.
yeah, it did not go through the copier. It did not go through the copier. We're talking about the ordinance abolishing the Jersey City Improvement Authority, Incinerator Authority, and the ordinance that was tabled at the last meeting, providing for the change in the down payment for the monies for the 6th Street embankment. Well, I'll,
Okay.
folks, questions?
Listen, being that they're not here, we haven't discussed them. Why don't you go over all of this? Bringing these up tomorrow night is like, a joke. It's a joke.
Let's go, guys.
Okay, we'll have copies distributed to all the council tomorrow.
It'll be on the agenda, right?
What's that?
It'll be on the agenda.
Yes, I'll take care of that, Councilman.
Yes.
Yes, got it. 3A, amending the traffic code, permit parking and fees and charges of the Jersey City Municipal Code. I believe
This is mine.
Councilwoman Osborne.
Yep. So,
You're up.
I can walk you through these. Essentially, three changes. Number one, and this is part of the pilot plan that was discussed with all the neighborhood associations downtown, as well as the parking committee that was formed by Rolando with the folks inside Jersey City government. And one of the things that's an issue downtown in particular is people who have a lot of the high rises have parking in the buildings. It's a strong hypothesis that people are supposed to be parking in those buildings or not parking in those buildings. And the reason why is because the enforcement window is essentially 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. because you have a 2-hour grace window on either side. So what we want to do is lengthen that to 11 p.m. for enforcement, and Mary has the staff to cover it. Or we'll get with her new hires, we'll have the staff to cover it. But extend the window from 2 hours to 3 hours because you don't want to impact negatively the restaurants. You know, if somebody wants to go out for a nice dinner, 2 hours may not be long enough, and we don't want to discourage people from coming from Ward F to have dinner downtown and only have 2 hours to eat. Now, I will say that there are some people who are concerned that by widening it to 3 hours, we might get people parking downtown and going to New York.
Right.
They don't have enough time. I mean, if you're, it's not. It's an hour and a half at least. And the best case scenario at morning rush hour, it's an hour and a half back. Where are you going to eat? I really don't believe that it's true, that it is true, but what I've told a couple of people who are complaining is, listen, the same way we did Newark Avenue, we piloted it, and we went back and we made changes the second year based on feedback. If the 3 hours is really harmful, we'll go back and reconsider it. But I'd rather be kind of mindful of the restaurant and kind of bar business, whatever, in the evenings. That's an important part of downtown.
Well, I'm gonna have to say downtown must love me from whatever, because every time I go down there's a parking space waiting for me right there. And I said to myself, and these people down here always complain about parking. Every time I come down here, I find a parking space. So that was just a smile.
And I think the parking is really worse at night than the daytime, from what I've seen anyway. So I think this really isn't changing anything. The daytime isn't the problem anyway, and this is new regulation for night. So I think net, it's good and it's going to improve parking. That's the reason why we're doing it. If it doesn't work, we'll undo it. The second thing that is in here that's worth talking about is last time when we codified the old parking authority rules that were kind of like their rules, but they weren't in law.
Yeah.
A couple of council meetings ago, and remember there was a lot of people upset about the contractor parking. And so we revised that to say if your building had less than, and now I can't remember if we the number of units. I want to say 3 units.
Okay.
You can look in the ordinance. Yeah, we can look in there. Let's say 3 units. Maybe it was higher. I have to go back and check. If it's less than that, we still would give them parking because we don't want to discourage single-family homeowners or duplex or whatever owners from redoing their home, because if we make it too expensive, then it's going to just get passed back on to the consumer, and all of a sudden they may not renovate their home, and we don't want that to happen. But what we don't want happening is big buildings being constructed and those workers taking street parking.
Well, that's not just for downtown, is it?
No, that's not just for downtown. That's for everyone. Just the extended hours is for downtown. And the thought is if that works, then we could put it in all the other areas. So that's the scope of this.
Can you, which section were you just referring to?
That is section E on page 7.
Thank you.
That's
E5?
she was talking about, she was alluding to 5. But then there are other things that are changed, some definitions, but basically.
But they're in support of that.
Yeah, it's just indicating that proof of residency is required for residents. For student parking, Proof of full-time student registration is required.
Just clearer definitions of what they have already, where it's just, sorry, so that is one thing, that came from Mary, where.
So can we go through each of these individually? Not each of them, but number 3, the student parking permit says except a college, so what educational institutions are we talking about if it's not a college?
High school.
Oh, high school could get, okay.
Yeah.
And she said, that's by the way, like, these were the rules that that
that's
was
fine.
existing, that's a more cleanup, because she said it's not clear enough in our,
What's an example of a temporary work permit? Like what's the worker?
that's a temporary work permit,
Who's a temporary worker?
contractor.
Well, there's a
Well,
contract.
there's a contract, yeah, there is a contractor there. A temporary worker could be,
Somebody doing sheet rock on one of these tall buildings.
no, I think that still would, I think it would still fall under contractor. I think this is just, my understanding, and you could double check with Mary, but I think this is basically like, maybe you're here on assignment or something. So like, for example, we have a lot of like,
Temporary residents who reside within the zone for up to 90 days on work assignments.
Yeah.
That's what it says. That's the definition.
yeah,
So
so,
I'm
okay,
not-
that's exactly what it said.
I'm not dogmatic about this one way or the other. I'm just, why do we give them permits to begin with?
So my understanding is this is stuff that they were doing anyways.
Yeah.
And, I mean, honestly, like, to me, those ones are okay. Where we wanna crack down is when we're giving people, when we're doing like the big, huge, tall construction buildings that have hundreds of construction workers and we're giving them street parking, and that's what we've cut out by adding the clarity in the language. So because it was just generic language before, now having this clarity and these different definitions, what it's doing is it's excluding that group of people.
I'll read this more closely.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyone have questions? Hearing none?
Then there's changes to the fees and charges as well.
Yeah,
Okay.
but those changes, well, just to be clear, the
Yeah, yeah.
changes in fees are just in conjunction with the new definitions.
Okay. D, we're authorizing a 6-month or a month-to-month extension not to exceed 6 months for parking at 3000 Kennedy Boulevard for 29 spaces.
Yeah, please, yeah, until they move.
E is the traffic ordinance designating Bay Street from Warren Street to Marin Boulevard as one-way west and repealing the one-way west on 2nd Street from Washington Street to Marin Boulevard.
Has anybody ever gone up Warren Street and wanted to take a right to get into the BJ's parking lot? Or let me ask another question, has anybody taken a right to sneak into the BJ's parking lot?
Right, because you have
This
to.
will solve that.
Yeah, you need to.
This is a long time coming. And actually the Bay Street that's currently 2 ways is one way on either side, but for one block it's 2 ways. It's the most bananas thing I've ever seen, so we're gonna finally fix it.
Okay, next item.
F and G are both ordinances creating new classified positions, Chief Project Coordinator, Construction, and Road Inspector. So we have H on the agenda. I will be joining the H is the Powerhouse Arts redevelopment plan we talked about earlier. The scattered site redevelopment plan will be demoted back to a first reading ordinance. Will defeat the second reading ordinance. Any discussion on the second reading ordinances? Let's do the resolutions we haven't gotten to. We've gotten to a great many of them. A is accepting grants, authorizing a insertion of special items of revenue and appropriation, so we got some new grants since we've adopted the budget. B is a requirement that you accept the best practices inventory questionnaire. I gave you a substitute page for it. It had something in the comment section that was lacking in the prior iteration. We are honoring Inez Fry, Pamela Gardner, Carol M. Taylor, and Deacon Brian Minus for their numerous contributions to the city of Jersey City. G and H, authorize the business administrator to execute discharge of mortgages affecting 96 Belmont Avenue and 53 Wade Street. I is appointing Candace Pitcher as the new custodian of the petty cash for the Division of Parking Enforcement.
I'm sorry, can I just interject?
Please, sir.
On the discharge of mortgage, there was a particular property, I can't recall the address. Did Alma speak to you about it?
No.
Did you get that? Alma Santanas?
No, I didn't.
Okay. So there may be a need to add one more. I'm not sure if it's sitting out there. What's that?
Oh, Alma, yes, she
Yeah.
did, it's hers.
Do you know which address it was?
No, I don't know the address.
Can't remember.
These get
She said I would know her name.
These get initiated by law with,
Right.
in conjunction with the community development, so.
So just give you a heads up, we need to pursue that tomorrow.
Yeah,
If there's
Alma, yeah.
a discharge of mortgage, supposedly supposed to be on this agenda.
It's supposed to be.
I'm not sure. Not sure what the address is. I don't want to keep saying the name.
Right, exactly.
TV. Okay, keep moving
All
on.
right, J, closing Grove Street from Montgomery Street to Mercer and Mercer Street from Marin to Grove for the New Jersey Paella Festival on Saturday, October 24th. K is a resolution approving the appointment of municipal prosecutors for the municipal court to serve for terms of 1 year. L we did. M we didn't. It's the closure of West Side from Communipaw to Belmont, Bentley from Kennedy to West Side, Gifford from West Side to Kennedy, and Harrison from West Side to Kennedy for the first annual Best Side Festival. N we did earlier with Ms. Gandula. O is the license agreement with Getty Properties to enter onto 20 Commercial Street.
What is that?
Which one?
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
I don't have an answer for you. Access upon city property located in 20 Commercial Street to conduct environmental investigation.
To put 2 monitoring wells, it's likely to be a former gas station.
Okay.
10-0. Asking about.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So what this is really a access agreement. It's on for the council because the contract's gonna be signed, but it's really just to allow them to come on and do the work they need to do on the property. Standard pro forma stuff.
We did P?
Okay, we did P. Q is a site access agreement with Honeywell International to perform environmental investigation and remediation activities on certain chromium contaminated sites within the city. R, we did earlier. S, authorizes member participation in the Pennsylvania Education Purchasing Program for microcomputers, cooperative purchasing system. T, authorizing the acceptance of the recreational opportunities for individuals with disabilities grant. Recreational. U, we did earlier. V, W, X, and Y, we did earlier. Z is approving the report and strategic plan of the Jersey City Purchasing Disparity Study Committee.
Did I miss this one?
No, this was put in our mailbox, your mailboxes. It would have been put in there last week.
Okay, I probably haven't picked it up yet. Is this something that deserves a presentation to us?
You could have a presentation if you want. I think that the document is extremely self-explanatory.
Okay.
It's not a long document. What I will explain.
Okay.
Yeah. The one thing I'll say to you is it's a 12-page document that's very user-friendly. And what we've done is the first few pages is giving you just a breakdown of what's happened, the mission, and then the recommendations from the Croson study that was done. And then it goes into a strategic plan. And it gives specific action items, and it breaks the action items into 3 categories. Immediate action, which is a 30-day time frame, aspirational, and then near-term actions, which is a 6-month time frame, again aspirational, and then long-term items, action items, which are a year to 2 years. And so it gives you in each of those categories a listing of action items, and it breaks the report is further broken down into different areas. There's general recommendations, the recommendations about how the city should procure its goods and services, and then there are recommendations about construction-based activities, abatements and PLAs and PICAs and things of that nature.
This is the study that I've been in the paper for the last 8 months.
Oh, I know, and I was just thinking it's significant enough that we should get a presentation.
I mean, the document is extremely self-explanatory. The only thing I would.
That's all he'd be able to do is say that.
Right. And
A presentation, I don't think would be in order because there's no charts or graphs or anything like that. It's
Nothing
basic,
pretty.
broken down,
Yeah.
broken down terminology in response to the study itself.
I mean, I feel like questions, type of thing where we want to ask questions and have a dialogue, you
That's
know,
why-
as a group. I don't know, it just seems to me like we have like a tree study thing. It seems like it's big enough and important enough to discuss. But
There's going to be a press release. If you read the report, you'll see. There's a release. There's a whole. It's all in there.
I'm just saying that, given the types of subjects that we have, that we talk about at the beginning of these meetings, we have, you know, the tree commission, this to me seems important enough that we would discuss it as a group. If my colleagues don't agree with me, that's fine. I'm just,
What Shannon wouldn't be able to create a presentation of that nature.
This is not really appropriate for a summary because every item is an action item that we're endorsing. There's no subset of those items that you would want to have in a summary because every item is something. So if you look at the first section of it, it says, general recommendations, and then it goes immediate actions, and it lists 6 immediate actions. Every one of those things is an action that you're going to want to know about. The municipal council adopt a resolution approving a strategic plan. That's what we're doing here. Update of the strategic plan. The mayor should hold a press conference to inform the public about the plan and its recommendations. So that's the communication plan for how it should be rolled out to the public. So it's very detailed, but very user-friendly for you guys to understand kind of what the vision is based on the work that the committee did, which was.
I understand. I mean, because, they crucified you, the people. And so, I'm thinking, is there some way that we can let them know that we handled this? It's open to the public now.
Right.
You know,
So the very.
without just letting this pass by.
Yeah,
Because resolutions,
Sure.
you don't have much conversation even in the public with them. Sometimes you don't.
Sure, the very.
But with something like this, because it was, we was getting hammered.
The very second action item
It's a
under
good,
general
I read it, it's
recommendations.
good. Yes, it's great. We're gonna do our stuff, as I said, there's gonna be a press release, it's open for the public now. They've already requested it, you understand what I'm saying? So it had to be approved in order for it to be a document, a government document, so now they can get it. All those people who were inquiring about it already have requests in for it.
And so the big thing is, this is your guys' chance to read it and say, yes, we approve of this, or no, we want it to be thought about a little bit differently. That's what this is about for every item in the strategic plan. Yeah. And then if you guys do approve it, then the mayor, based on this plan, if he accepts it, would release a press release and then have a press conference where there'll be the rollout of the plan to the press. Okay?
I just want to make sure they know the importance of this. This is.
Although I will tell you the 2 highest level recommendations in here would be one to create a chief diversity officer for the city and an office of diversity inclusion, and then to go out and hire a more professional compliance officer and reconstitute office of compliance. Those are the 2 largest recommendations in here. Okay.
D1, professional services agreement to the firm of Locke Lord to represent police officers Thomas Johnson and Clyde Banks in the matter of Francis and Shazia DeFazio via the city of Jersey City. Z2 is a professional services agreement with Brad Eichler LLC to represent former Fire Director Armando Roman, Jerome Calla, Fire Chief Darren Rivers, and Stephen McGill in the matter of Constance Zapella versus the city of Jersey City. Z3, professional services agreement with the law firm of Walder Hayden to represent the city of Jersey City in a condemnation matter of 141 Newark Avenue.
Can we talk about this?
Yeah, sure.
What are we condemning and why?
This is the property on the Newark pedestrian way that has been left vacant for a significant amount of time, for years, in fact. And one of the commitments that was made to the public is that we wouldn't allow it to go on for an indefinite period of time as vacant. They started to do work based on the pressure that was applied. They started excavating a hole. When they did that, the building next door started to give way.
Oh, yeah, that one.
And so we've now doing anything with the property has gotten more expensive. They stopped doing anything with it, and the mayor's asked us to begin the process. If they are going to move forward and develop it, then we would work with them to do that. But if they're not, then we're going to have to go in, remediate the dangerous condition there, and then use it for some public use.
Is there a reason why we're not putting this on the scatter, blah, blah, blah?
Does this go straight through to Christopher Columbus Drive?
This goes straight to
Yes.
the
Yes.
Yes.
There was some discussion about making it the connection to
That's
Christopher
right.
Columbus Drive.
So the talk of it currently would be to make it a paseo, and that's just a passage with some sort of public use along the side, either passive or even active,
So
perhaps.
actually like a proper use of condemnation.
Right. And actually, it would link to the pedestrian way.
For truly
and
for a public benefit.
And so it would be almost like an extension of the public
So it would be a
pedestrian
part,
passage there.
yeah,
Yeah,
okay,
that would be the use.
okay,
Okay?
All right, Z4.
Assuming they don't develop it in between now and our.
but it basically would be for a park. Okay,
Resolution Z4, professional services agreement with Archer and Griner to provide legal counsel, bond counsel to the city of Jersey City. Z5 is awarding a contract to Business Watch International for the operation, management, and administration of data processing services for the tracking of items sold by second-hand dealers. Pawn shops. This will make sure that no one is fencing anything or
And selling it to the pawn shops, and then they
Or
sell,
doing
and then
it-
they sell back to us for triple the amount.
I've been
All right.
taking Councilman Yen's bow tie.
Z6 was withdrawn, 7 and 8 were done earlier. Z9 is authorizing the payment of claims submitted by CarePoint Health Medical Group for providing employee medical services for the Department of Human Resources. Z10 through 12 were done. 13 is a contract to Dell for the purchase of servers, accessories, and software for the Department of Public Safety, Division of Police. 14 through 16 were done earlier. Z17 is authorizing the donation of portable radios to Jackson Township. Z18 is accept a grant from FEMA for the firefighters grant program. We did 19, 20, and 21. 22 is a license agreement with St. Peter's Prep for firefighter training. Z23, an indemnification agreement with Iron State Development for the mural at 121 Newark Avenue. Z24, commemorating the 38th anniversary of the Community Awareness Series. Z25 and Z26 were done earlier. We're going to get this resolution for Airbnb. Excuse me? It's 27. Oh, I didn't write that one down when I was doing.
The very last
Oh, I
one.
didn't write it, I'm sorry, I didn't write the caption. Wait. Z27 is the agreement with the New Jersey Department of Military and Veterans Affairs for the Armory.
The annual
Who has it?
recreation has been
You have it. You have it.
Does everyone have Z27?
Yeah, everyone got it. You got it, Councilwoman, in your late packet. If you had Z26, you have Z27.
I got it.
Z27?
I have it.
It's there, it's there. Look on the bottom.
Tonight's the role of Rich will be playing, but, what?
You have Z27?
Yeah.
This is for recreation.
Yeah.
All right, it's 8:34.
in honor of Michael's late night. Happy birthday.
We have a motion, yes.
Happy birthday, Council President.
We have a motion by Count.
Happy birthday to you.
8:34. Seconded by Councilman Gajewski. To adjourn, Councilman Gajewski. Bajano. Osborne. To adjourn, Coleman. Waterman and Lavaro. Absent are Council Members Ramchow, Yun, and Councilman Rivera left just a little while ago.
Yeah, and Young isn't here and we get out late.
Say goodnight, everyone.
Could you imagine how late we'd be if he was here?
Right.